Chapter 842. Jiang Chun was speechless. It was as if he had seen a glimmer of hope, only to realize that it was unattainable. Jiang Chun stared blankly at the seed. He had no idea what this seed would become after it sprouted. It could be a blade of grass, or a vine, or even a tree. However, if it only evolved once, it would not be able to evolve into an ancient tree. I have to work hard to cultivate. What if I can really evolve into an ancient tree one day? Jiang Chun said with a straight face. He was encouraging himself and cheering himself on. You can only cultivate the soul-raising demonic technique for one morning a day. The undying bird joked. With this cultivation time and speed, it will take at least 1,000,000 years for the Emperor's vine to evolve into an ancient tree. Then what should I do? Jiang Chun's face darkened. Will you die if you don't discourage me? You are my Tao soul. I am telling the truth, the undying bird said. However, flames flashed across the undying bird's eyes as it said, the energy that you cultivate the soul-raising demonic technique has merged into me, the Emperor's vine, and the ever-changing heavenly lamp. Therefore, I know what kind of energy it is. So? Jiang Chun asked. So, as long as you can obtain this energy, you can help us evolve even if you don't cultivate the soul-raising demonic technique. The undying bird Tao Soul said excitedly. He had evolved a few times, but he was still a long way from his original form. The undying bird Tao Soul had its own consciousness. He desperately wanted to revert to his original form. Therefore, he told Jiang Chun that there was a kind of energy in this world that was similar to the energy cultivated by the soul-raising demonic technique. It could improve one's Tao soul. Source of Tao. The energy cultivated by the soul-raising demonic technique is the source of Tao. The source of Tao exists in this world too, but it is very rare. The undying bird Tao Soul said. So you mean, as long as I have enough source of Tao, I can help you evolve and evolve quickly? Jiang Chun said excitedly. However, Jiang Chun also knew that the Tao source was extremely rare, and it could even be said to be extremely rare. A thumb-sized Tao source was enough to cause a bloodbath. The Tao quintessence was just as its name implied, and it contained the quintessence energy of the Grand Tao. No matter who it was, so long as they consumed it, then not only would their cultivation improve, they would even be able to comprehend the Grand Tao, and it was even to the extent that their cultivation would improve immediately. Where am I supposed to find the Tao source? After several breaths of time, Jiang Chun withdrew from the soul world, his head aching. He rose to his feet and left the immortal's cave. Looking for Granny Qi, he asked. Granny Qi, is there a Tao source in the earth cleansing sect? Tao source? What do you want that for? The angry woman was stunned. The exterminating earth sect naturally had a Tao source. However, these things were prepared for the sect leader. Of course, it would also be prepared for those who had the potential to inherit the position of sect master in the future. As for Jiang Chun, he was just an in-name disciple. Even if the Thorough Earth sect had one, they couldn't give it to him. I need it urgently, Jiang Chun said. Can you give me some? This? I'm afraid it's not appropriate? The angry woman frowned. After all, he was just an in-name disciple. Even if Jiang Chun used to have a special identity, even if he had that kind of relationship with Hong Yi now, it was really not appropriate to give it to him. Give it all to him. But at this moment, Hong Yi's voice sounded. She had been paying attention to Jiang Chun. Hearing Hong Yi's words, the angry woman had nothing to say. After all, Hong Yi was the sect leader. Then, the angry woman asked Jiang Chun to wait in the immortal's cave. After half an incense stick's time, she came back with a small jar. There were talismans engraved on the jar, shining with divine light and flowing with the brilliance of the sun and moon. There are 2 drops of the Tao source in here. It's all the stock of the exterminating sect, the angry woman said. You also know that the Tao source is rare. It's already good to have 2 drops. Thank you, Granny Qi. Jiang Chun hurriedly took the jar, then smiled and said, Granny Qi, I'm going to start cultivating. Take care. Don't be in a hurry to cultivate. Take it slow, said the angry woman. Okay. Jiang Chen nodded. He was very obedient. When the angry woman left the immortal's cave, Jiang Chen directly opened the jar and swallowed the 2 drops of water that looked like clear water. The Tao source, in the eyes of ordinary people, was a drop of water. Sometimes, even if they encountered the Tao source, they could not tell if it was water or the Tao source. Ha! It sprouted! After a dozen breaths, Jiang Chen entered his spiritual world and saw the seed growing rapidly under the 2 drops of the Tao source. It sprouted at a speed visible to the naked eye, then extended its branches and leaves until finally it turned into a vine. Damn! Why is it still a vine? Jiang Chen cursed. He did not feel any changes. He observed it carefully. Other than having more leaves, a thicker main vine, and more runes on the leaves, it was no different from the previous emperor's vine. Does this count as an advancement? Jiang Chen asked. Of course. The undying bird Dao Hun said. But it's only the first advancement, so the changes are small. Moreover, the emperor's vine is a top-tier Dao soul. Do you think it will change so much after 1 or 2 advancements? Look at me. I've advanced a few times, but it's still the same. There's not much change. Upon hearing this, Jiang Chen rolled his eyes. He had assumed that the emperor's vine would undergo great changes this time. At the very least, it would turn from a vine into a tree. Get more Tao source. You can't raise the 3 of us just by cultivating the soul ascension demonic technique. The undying bird Dao Hun mocked and pointed at the myriad change heavenly lamp. This big brother is the real deal. You've been cultivating the soul ascension demonic technique and even consumed 2 drops of the Tao source. Look at this big brother, he has no reaction at all. The undying bird Dao Hun smiled bitterly. The power you cultivate is like a stone sinking into the ocean. No. Jiang Chen shook his head and stared at the myriad change heavenly lamp. When I first cultivated the soul ascension demonic technique, the myriad change heavenly lamp changed. At that time, I saw a blurry figure appear beside the myriad change heavenly lamp. It was like a lamp bearer. However, that was the only time. After that, when Jiang Chen cultivated the soul ascension demonic technique, he did not see any changes to the myriad change heavenly lamp. That's why this big brother is the hardest to raise. The undying bird Dao Hun said. Stop wasting time and think of a way to get more Tao source. When the 3 of us become stronger, you will become stronger too. Not only for the 3 of us, but also for yourself. Jiang Chen smiled bitterly. The Chaijai sect only has 2 drops of the Tao source. Where do you expect me to find so many Tao source to raise the 3 of you? You'll have to think of a way yourself. The undying bird Dao Hun said with a strange expression. Aren't you good at cheating? If you can't, you can cheat some back. You're good at it, so I believe you can do it. Chapter 843. Was he good at swindling? Jiang Chen immediately replied seriously. I'm an upright person. I've never done those things. After that, Jiang Chen left the soul world. Then, he suddenly stood up and said softly, I know you've been paying attention to me. I'm going to the sky-reaching school now. Will you allow me? Yes, I'll go with you. Lady Red's voice rang in Jiang Chen's ears. As soon as she finished speaking, she appeared beside Jiang Chen. Then, without waiting for Jiang Chen's response, Lady Red waved her hand. The surrounding starry sky rotated and directly tore the void apart. In an instant, they arrived at the gate of the sky-reaching school. You! Aren't you going to ask me why I'm here? Jiang Chen said softly. If you don't tell me, why should I ask? Lady Red raised her eyebrows and said, I accompanied you because I was worried that you wouldn't leave after coming here. I'm a disciple of the sky-reaching school, Jiang Chen said seriously. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen saw Lady Red's expression change. It was somewhat gloomy. In an instant, Jiang Chen's heart tightened and he hurriedly said, I'm also a registered disciple of the Chadi sect. Haha, junior brother. You're finally back. Did you bring us something good? You don't know that we're starving to death. At this moment, Dishyung and the others rushed out. After all, with their strength, they could detect someone outside the gate in an instant. However, they didn't expect that Lady Red would also come this time. Greetings, sect leader of the Chedi sect. Greetings, sect leader Red. Dishyung and the others looked strange, but they were still polite. After all, Lady Red's identity was the same as Katsura Matsuda, the leader of a sect. Senior brother, senior sister, I didn't bring anything back this time. Jiangchun was embarrassed. At that time, they had agreed to kidnap something from the Chedi sect to repay the sky-reaching school. But after such a long time, Jiangchun still came empty-handed. It's okay, it's okay. It's good that little junior brother can come back, Red Caltrip said. She walked in front of Jiangchun very dotingly and touched Jiangchun's head. Jiangchun was used to it. He could feel that the Red Caltrip really treated him like a younger brother. However, Hong Yi, who was standing at the side, was somewhat displeased. She said softly, Is a man's head something you can touch as you wish? You! Red Caltrip's eyes flashed coldly, but due to the power of a red specter, she did not say anything. She only glared at Jiangchun as if to say, Wow, your woman is so stingy. Senior brothers and sisters, this time I have come, cough cough. I have something to ask of you. Jiangchun blushed and said weakly. As soon as he said this, Luo Shu and the others did not ask Jiangchun the purpose of this visit. They all agreed. I want some doctrine sources. When Jiangchun saw that everyone had agreed to his request, he stated his purpose. What? Source of Tao? At this moment, Luo Shu and the others exclaimed. They all stared at Jiangchun as if, guarding against a thief. Little junior brother, it's fine that you didn't bring anything back. Now you want to take something back from the sky-reaching school? Dishyung said angrily. Don't you know the condition of your own family? Now in the entire sky-reaching school, there's nothing else except a blessed land. That's right. Not only did you not bring anything back, you even want to take something away. The key is the source of Tao. Little junior brother, what are you thinking? Even the smiling god of heaven spoke. He pointed at the sky-reaching school and said, Do you think there's a source of Tao in the sky-reaching school? Isn't there one drop left? Red Caltrip said with a smile. If little junior brother wants it, just give it to him. We don't need it. Senior sister, this is your fault. The source of Tao is supposed to be reserved for me. The smiling god of heaven hurriedly said, I'm also your junior brother. You can't be so biased. Yes, there are 2 drops left. 1 drop is for senior brother, and the other is for me. In the future, when we meet a bottleneck or merge with the spiritual body, we will need it, Dishyung said. As soon as these words came out, Jiangchun's eyes lit up. He said, There are 2 drops. Ah? There are 2 drops. I always thought there was only 1 drop. Red Caltrip looked at Dishyung with a smile and said, Junior brother Dishyung is still so straightforward. What the hell? Dishyung reacted. He secretly thought that his mouth was so cheap. At this moment, Jiangchun rubbed his hands and looked at Red Caltrip. He blinked his pure eyes and said, Senior sister, can you help little junior brother? Of course I have to give little junior brother what he wants, Red Caltrip said with eyes full of doting. Then, Red Caltrip looked at Luo Shu and said with narrowed eyes, Senior brother, now that master is not here and the great elder is in seclusion, you have the final say in the sky-reaching school. Now little junior brother wants the source of Tao. Will you give it to him? Luo Shu and Red Caltrip didn't need the source of Tao now. After all, their cultivation was about the same. Although the source of Tao was useful, the effect wasn't great. Therefore, Luo Shu didn't care about the source of Tao. However, everyone knew the conditions of the sky-reaching school. Those were 2 drops of source of Tao that everyone had to live frugally in exchange. They were prepared for Smiling God and Dishyung. Logically speaking, Jiangchun wanted the source of Tao, so they couldn't give it to him. However, everyone knew that Katsura Matsuda wasn't here and old Chai was in seclusion. The person in charge of the sky-reaching school was Luo Shu. And everyone knew about Luo Shu's feelings towards red caltrip yarn. It could be said that the person in charge of the sky-reaching school was red caltrip yarn. Just give little junior brother what he wants, Luo Shu said with a smile. Junior sister, whatever you say. Senior brother! Smiling God was anxious. He was about to break through and was planning to use the source of Tao to stabilize his spiritual body's foundation. That cough, since senior brother and senior sister have spoken, I'll give my drop to little junior brother. Anyway, I haven't shed much of my spiritual body yet. I don't need it for the time being, Dishyung said. He felt wronged and anxious. Unknown, you don't seem to understand what I mean. Red caltrip yarn came to Smiling God's side and patted his shoulder, saying, Come, let's go to the back of the mountain. Senior sister will have a good talk with you. Senior sister, cough, since little junior brother wants the source of Tao, just give it to him. There's no need to talk to me. Smiling God's body stiffened. Would he dare to go to the back of the mountain? If he went, he would probably be beaten up by red caltrip yarn. Moreover, he could continue to search for the source of Tao. With Luo Shu's red caltrip yarn's strength, going out to find a drop of the source of Tao wasn't easy, but it wasn't difficult either. Here, take it. 10 breaths later, Luo Shu brought the 2 drops of the source of Tao from the sky-reaching school's treasury and handed it to Jiangqun. Smiling God and Dishyung were full of smiles. They didn't dare to say anything, but they felt wronged to the extreme. Many thanks, senior brother and senior sister. When little junior brother's cultivation reaches a certain level in the future, he definitely won't forget everyone, Jiangqun said solemnly. As he said that, Jiangqun subconsciously said, I'll buy a paradise for each of you. Chapter 844. Jiangqun had already moved a cave abode back. It was normal for him to move a few more. Habitual offender! He's definitely a habitual offender. He must have done this many times in the lower realm. Everyone cursed in their hearts. Even Hongyi was stunned for a moment. She looked at Jiangqun meaningfully, wondering if this was really the Tianchen Divine King. All right, thank you everyone, I'll leave now to prepare a cave abode for all of you. Jiangqun waved with a smile, then left with Hongyi. Luo Shu and the rest looked at each other, thinking that junior brother was really not courteous at all. He left just like that after getting the source of Tao. He didn't even enter the mountain gate. He was really abducted by the Chedi sect. Smiling God was very serious. He looked at Luo Shu and said, Sect Master asked you to take good care of junior brother. What can I do? Can you defeat Hongyi? Luo Shu said angrily. She's a ruthless woman who can even suppress a half-step divine king. A ruthless man is a ruthless man. What's the meaning of bringing a woman along? Red caltrip yarn said in a low voice. That. Cough. It's nothing, let's go eat. Luo Shu smiled embarrassedly, then disappeared in a flash. There's really no reaction at all. At this moment, in the cave abode of the Chedi sect, Jiangqun was dumbfounded. Looking at the unchanged myriad transformations heavenly lamp, he was about to explode. After consuming 2 drops of source of Tao, the myriad transformations heavenly lamp remained silent. There was no reaction at all. It was still the same as before. I told you, this big brother is the hardest to raise. Undying Bird joked. This is the first spirit. I've never heard of it evolving. But I really saw a shadow appear beside the myriad transformations heavenly lamp. I suspected it was a lamp bearer, Jiangqun said. Maybe, but now it seems like you can't afford to raise the myriad transformations heavenly lamp, Undying Bird said. But that's fine, as long as you raise me and the Emperor's vine well, we're just as powerful. But I'm still looking forward to the myriad change heavenly lamp's advancement, Jiangqun said. However, Tao sources were scarce, and Jiangqun had already taken all the Tao sources that he could get. Where would he find so many more Tao sources? Thinking of this, Jiangqun could not help but feel a headache coming on. In the end, he calmed down and began to cultivate. Time passed by slowly. Jiangqin cultivated the soul ascension demonic technique every day. At the same time, he didn't neglect the heavenly sage scripture and tiger soul skill. Just like that, a month later, at this moment, in the cave residence, Jiangqin had already shed more than 200 spirit bodies, which were piled up like a small mountain. He asked the old biddy to send these souls to the sky-reaching school and put them in the backyard of the sky-reaching school together with the previous souls. At the same time, another one of his tiger bones changed. He could vaguely see that it was a rose. Rose again? Jiangqin frowned. He found it a little hard to understand. Why would a tiger bone give birth to a rose? Could it be that there really was a fierce tiger sniffing the rose in his heart? However, Jiangqin really didn't know what was so special about the tiger bone that turned into a rose. Apart from a slight increase in combat strength, this rose seemed to have no other use. Someone sent you a letter of challenge. They want you to go to the Void God world to accept the challenge. At this moment, Hong Yi came with a letter of challenge. She said, "Do you want to go or not?" "Who sent the letter of challenge?" Jiangqin asked. "Qinjulu," Hong Yi said. "At the Haotian conference, you defeated Qinjulu. He is not convinced." "Ha!" Jiangqin chuckled. He felt very indifferent. He didn't even want to accept the challenge. This was because whether he accepted the challenge or not was meaningless to him. If it was just an empty title, Jiangqin didn't want it. This time, Qinjulu entered the Void God world with his real body. Hong Yi said, "The Qinjulu you saw before, and even the Son of Heaven, were all doppelgangers." "Oh? His real body?" Jiangqin narrowed his eyes. A monstrous genius like Qinjulu wouldn't enter the Void God world with his real body under normal circumstances. Even if he was willing, the elders in the sect wouldn't agree. After all, Qinjulu was too outstanding in the sect. The elders in the sect didn't want him to have an accident or die prematurely. "The Aolai Heavenly Sect seems to care a lot about Qinjulu's defeat," Hong Yi said. "Qinjulu has the title of Little Saint in the Aolai Heavenly Sect. His victory represents the face of the Aolai Heavenly Sect. Then why not let the real saint of the Aolai Heavenly Sect fight?" Jiangqin curled his lips. "What's the big deal about sending a little saint? Are they looking down on me? Qinjulu's real body is much stronger than you think," Hong Yi said. "It's up to you whether you want to go or not. There's no benefit in going." "I'm not going." Jiangqin was very honest. Now, he was in a hurry to cultivate. He wanted to upgrade the myriad change heavenly lamp. He didn't have the time to accept the challenge. He didn't want to fight a meaningless battle. "Since the other party wants to challenge you, you can make a request. As long as it's not too excessive, I'm sure the Aolai Heavenly Sect will agree," Hong Yi said. "Moreover, you've been cultivating for a while. It's time for you to test your strength. Make a request?" "Then I want 10 drops of the Tao Source," Jiangqin said. With that said, Red Shirt was taken aback. He thought to himself, is this really a godly monarch? Doesn't he know that the Tao Source is precious and rare? Even a top sect might not have 10 drops of the Tao Source. However, Hong Yi didn't say anything. She nodded and said, "I'll send someone to discuss it. You want 20 drops. If you bargain like this, you can get at least 10 drops," Jiangqin reminded her. You have a good head for business." Hong Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. 3 days later, Red Spectre returned. This time, she said directly, "The Aolai Heavenly Sect has agreed. However, they have a request. If you win, they'll give you 6 drops of the Tao Source. If you lose, they won't give you a single drop." Jiangqin got to his feet right away. He said, "Let's go. Are you sure? Are you sure you can defeat Qinjulu?" Hong Yi asked. During these 3 days, Hong Yi had sent people to discuss with the Aolai Heavenly Sect. She had also secretly investigated Qinjulu's strength. As far as she knew, Qinjulu's cultivation had been suppressed to the level of a profound god. He had forcibly suppressed it from a divine king. It was to stabilize his foundation so that it would be easier for him to enter the titled deity realm in the future. Thus, to be precise, Chinjulu couldn't be considered as suppressing his realm. Instead, he condensed his cultivation. His current battle strength wasn't inferior to a divine king's at all. I've shed a lot of spiritual bodies recently. Moreover, I've transformed one of my tiger bones. It's not a big problem, Jiangchen said with a smile. His eyes flickered as he said, "It's time to prove my strength to the world. Then you can go," Hong Yi said. After saying that, Hong Yi left just like that. Jiangchen stood in place and looked at Hong Yi's departing figure. He asked weakly, "I'm going to fight. Shouldn't you give me a weapon or something?" Chapter 845. A weapon is an external force in the end. Unless it's a Tao-confirming weapon, under normal circumstances, it's best to rely on your own strength, Hong Yi explained. As she spoke, Hong Yi suddenly turned her head and looked at Jiangchen with a strange expression. She said, "You want to cheat me of my weapon? And then sell it for money in exchange for Tao's source?" Jiangchen's old face turned red. His little scheme was actually seen through by Hong Yi. "Don't think about it. Although Chadi's sect is rich, we can't put all of our resources on you alone," Hong Yi said snappily. "Giving you 2 drops of Tao's source is already considered very good." "All right," Jiangchen said with a sigh. Jiangchen also understood that Chadi's sect was already good enough to him. He should be content. "This time, going to the Void God world, if someone 2 major realms above me makes a move, will you step forward?" Jiangchen asked. One had to know that the present Jiangchen was an influential figure in the Void God world. Not to mention offending the Light Clan, now he even offended Kunlun Mountain, Aolai Heavenly Sect, and Ultimate Shadow Sect. Even that 10,000 Barrel Bank was looking for Jiangchen. Moreover, there was also 9 Heaven Sect. We all stepped forward before. I don't think anyone is so stupid, and no one would have such big guts, Hong Yi said softly. Go in peace. What do you mean go in peace? Is this sending me off or saying goodbye to me forever? Jiangchen cursed in his heart. He kept feeling strange. Following that, Jiangchen came to the teleportation altar. Following a burst of mystic light, he arrived at the Void God world again. And this time, Jiangchen came to Clear Sky City with familiarity. Just coming out of the teleportation altar, Jiangchen was dumbfounded. Looking around, there were portraits of him everywhere. There were even people holding banners, warmly welcoming him. These people seemed to have known long ago that he would return. He also didn't know how long they had been waiting here. The strongest true God in history, silly! Warmly welcome! Welcome the only true God! Hearing these words, Jiangchen felt extremely comfortable. Although he didn't care about fame, it was still better than nothing. Everyone, thank you very much, Jiangchen said with a smile, but there was some fear in his heart. After all, no one could guarantee that there wouldn't be any experts who would make a move against him. In particular, he had to be on guard against those chief gods. Jiangchen stood on the teleportation altar for a long time. When he was sure that no one would attack him, he walked down the altar. Fellow Taoist silly girl, I heard that Qingjulu's real body has invited you to fight. What do you think? Silly girl, are you confident in this battle? In an instant, many people gathered around and stared at Jiangchen as if they were interviewing him. Jiangchen smiled awkwardly and said, I don't have much confidence. The only true God is humble. We've all seen your previous battles, you're very strong. He is definitely not weaker than Qingjulu. Brother silly girl, I heard that there's a bet between you and Qingjulu. You're using Taoist sources. Do you lack Taoist sources? After another round of interviews, Jiangchen smiled but didn't say anything. However, when the topic of Taoist sources was mentioned, Jiangchen's expression became serious and he said, I need a lot of Taoist sources. If you have Taoist sources, I can exchange them with something of equivalent value, Jiangchen said seriously. However, when the people present heard Jiangchen's words, they all took a few steps back. Equivalent value exchange? Who would believe you when you said it so seriously? Just based on the fact that you took away the light-blessed land, your credibility has long been gone. You still want to exchange for something of equivalent value? I guess the moment the Taoist sources appeared, they would be snatched away by you. Hey! What do you mean by this? I'm an upright person. What do you think I am? Jiangchen said shamelessly. Cough, cough. That, fellow Taoist silly girl, we're all sensible people. We understand what you're doing, someone said. Bull***T. I'm just borrowing the light-blessed land. When I'm done with it, I'll naturally return it, Jiangchen said seriously. However, no one believed him when he said that. Moreover, this time, I'm not just here to fight with Chinjulu. I'm also here to take a few more caves back. Jiangchen raised his eyebrows and said, You can announce this matter and let those top sects pay attention to it. Who knows when their blessed land in the void god realm will suddenly disappear? When these words came out, many people laughed. What kind of joke is this? Do you really think that it's easy to snatch a blessed land? If Katsura Matsuda hadn't killed the two guardians of the light-blessed land, Jiangchen wouldn't have been able to take away the light-blessed land so easily. Moreover, since that incident, all the top sects had sent more people to guard against Jiangchen. Fellow Taoist, can I have a word with you? At that moment, a fat man wearing a long brocade robe squeezed into the crowd. He winked at Jiangchen and secretly stuffed a bottle of something into Jiangchen's hand. This is a blatant bribe. Fellow Taoist, what do you mean by this? If you have something to say, just say it. Why are you being so polite? Jiangchen didn't feel embarrassed at all. Then he dashed out of the crowd and came to a corner. Not long after, the fat man came back with a smile. Fellow Taoist, I lose every bet. I'm from the Qianqiu gambling house. The fat man cupped his hands at Jiangchen and said, Let's not beat around the bush. The Qianqiu gambling house wants to cooperate with you. Qianqiu gambling house? Lose every bet? Jiangchen was shocked. This was a top power in the ninth heaven god realm. It was said that the wealth of the Qianqiu gambling house was comparable to the Wantong Bank. However, the Wantong Bank did business on the surface while the Qianqiu gambling house did some shady business. Cooperate with me? That depends on whether you are sincere or not, Jiangchen said. Have you opened the bottle that I gave you just now? Lose every bet asked. Jiangchen was stunned when he heard that. He had not seen what was inside the bottle. Then, when Jiangchen opened the bottle, his expression froze. That was because there was a drop of Tao Source in the bottle. This is a token of our sincerity. Lose every bet laughed. How is it? Are you willing to cooperate with my Qianqiu gambling house? Brother Lose every bet, look at what you're saying. Even if you don't give me this Tao Source, I'm still very willing to cooperate with the Qianqiu gambling house. Jiangchen said seriously. The Qianqiu gambling house will be famous for thousands of years. I'm just a small cultivator. To be able to cooperate with the Qianqiu gambling house is a great fortune. Hypocrite. I like it. Lose every bet gave a thumbs up and praised. Not only are you hypocritical, but you're also shameless. It's good to cooperate with someone like you. Cough, cough. Same here. Jiangchen cupped his hands in obeisance and touched his own face. He wondered how thick-skinned he had become. Chapter 846. The Thousand Years Gambling House did all sorts of shady business, so the people who worked with them were basically shady as well. In the eyes of the Thousand Years Gambling House, the best partners were those who were hypocritical and passionate. Of course, if they were hypocritical, passionate, and shameless enough, then this kind of person would definitely be the best partner. Obviously, Jiangchen was a good partner in the eyes of the Thousand Years Gambling House. Tell me, how do you want to cooperate? Jiangchen asked. Chinjulu from Aolai Heaven Sect will fight in person. Who do you think has a higher chance of winning between you and Chinjulu? Bet you lose asked. Chinjulu, of course, Jiangchen said. Chinjulu has been famous for a long time. He is the holy son of Ao Lai Heaven sect. I just became famous recently. My cultivation is low. Yes, you are right. Bet You Lose nodded and said, Now, all the gambling houses have opened gambling houses. Do you know what your odds are? 1 to 9. You don't think I can win? Jiangchen was stunned. When he came down from the teleportation altar, many people welcomed him. Looking at their enthusiasm, was it not a manifestation of their trust in him? Mother Ker. They are welcoming me because they are expecting me to lose. Jiangchen felt relieved. These people were so realistic. So, the 1,000 Years Gambling House wants to cooperate with me. As long as I defeat Qinzhilu, the 1,000 Years Gambling House will win big. Jiangchen asked. No. They don't want you to defeat Qinzhilu. They want you to lose to Qinzhilu. Bet You Lose joked. Since the 1,000 Years Gambling House is the #1 gambling house in the 9th Heaven Divine World, we have a unique way of operating. Oh? You want me to lose to Qinzhilu? Jiangchen was confused. What kind of operation was this? One had to know that as long as he defeated Qinzhilu, the odds would be 1 to 9. If he lost to Qinzhilu, how could the 1,000 Years Gambling House win money? I have planned everything. As long as you nod your head, I guarantee that everyone will profit together. You must lose. Every bet seemed to have seen through the doubts in Jiangchen's heart. He smiled mysteriously and said, I will reverse the odds and break through the peak of 1-9. When the time comes, the odds might even be 110 or even 120. When Jiangchen heard this, he was immediately tempted. He stared at Bet Must Lose and asked seriously, How many points do you have? 50-50. Must Lose Every Bet said, Although my 1,000 Autumns Bank earns unscrupulous money, the division of profits with our partners has always been fair. That's great, Jiangchen whispered. Then, he asked, Then, how do we operate it? Simple. You will lose. Every Bet said confidently. He had already arranged everything. Then, he told Jiangchen his plan in detail. First of all, he had to build momentum for Jiangchen so that his reputation would surpass Qinzhilu's. Then, he would spend money to hire people who were stronger than Qinzhilu, and let Jiangchen fight with them and win. In this way, in the eyes of outsiders, Jiangchen's strength would surpass Qinzhilu's. Naturally, everyone would place their bets on Jiangchen. At that time, Jiangchen's odds would decrease and Qinzhilu's odds would increase. According to Bet Must Lose Every Bet's plan, Jiangchen's odds would be lower than 1 and Qinzhilu's odds would be higher than 10. When the battle began, a large group of people would place their bets on Jiangchen to win. As long as Jiangchen lost the battle, 1,000 Autumns Bank would win big. What Jiangchen would lose was only the outcome of the battle. First, build momentum. Then, find people. Then, reverse the odds. I will fake the match. Finally, we will split the profits. Jiangchen gave a thumbs up and said, Awesome! How is it? How is it? You will lose. Every Bet laughed and asked. Although losing a battle may cause you to lose face, lose the limelight and reputation, but, with your hypocritical and shameless appearance, you shouldn't care about these things, right? Me? What do you think? Jiangchen's expression turned serious. Then, he could not help but laugh and said, F***ck my face. Nobody knows my real identity. So what if I lose? Ha! I love it when you're so serious and shameless. Lose. Every Bet laughed. After that, the two of them signed a contract. Just like that, it was decided. As for the other matters, Jiangchen did not need to care about them. Bet Must Lose Every Bet would arrange everything. After that, Jiangchen casually found an inn to stay in. The next day, at the entrance of the inn, a terrifying aura exploded. Then, a thunderous roar could be heard. Idiot! I am a lower god! Today, I challenge you to a battle. Do you dare? Jiangchen had been cultivating in his room. When he heard the voice, the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. He thought to himself, Not bad. You arranged it so quickly? Then, Jiangchen got up and walked out of the inn. He stared at the lower god and said in a deep voice, "My senior brothers and senior sisters said that people who are 2 realms higher than me are not allowed to fight me. Aren't you afraid that my senior brothers and senior sisters will come looking for trouble with you? That's right. I'm inviting you to a battle. I'm not going to fight you by force." The lower god said, "What? You don't dare? The outside world says that you're invincible. It seems like that's all there is to it." "Humph. Why wouldn't I dare? Not to mention a lower god, even if a higher god comes, I won't be afraid. I can suppress them with 1 palm." Jiangchen was very arrogant. He pointed outside the city and said, "Do you want to go now? How dare you?" The lower god's face was gloomy as he flew out of the city. Jiangchen followed closely behind. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Lose Every Bet nodding at him in a certain corner by the roadside. Hee hee. Not bad, Jiangchen thought to himself. Lose Every Bet really knows how to do things. After more than 10 breaths, when the two arrived outside Clear Sky City, they did not make a move immediately. It was because both of them were well aware of the situation. They were waiting for enough people to watch the show before they made a move. This was the so-called momentum building. Jiangchen wanted to defeat this low-level venerable god in front of everyone's eyes so that everyone would know that he, a low-level true god, wasn't any weaker than a low-level venerable god. It's about time. After half an incense stick's time, Clear Sky City was surrounded by people. They all knew that Jiangchen was going to fight with a lower god, and now they were all here to watch the show. Do you think Silly Boy can do it? No matter how strong he is, he's only a lower true god after all. Ha, he'll lose without a doubt. Who does he think he is? A lesser exalted god could suppress him with a single finger. The difference in realm is like a chasm, difficult to cross. However, just as everyone was not optimistic about Jiangchen, they saw Jiangchen move. Dragon and tiger phantoms appeared on his body. When a palm landed, it was as if the sky was collapsing, directly suppressing that lower god to the ground, unable to get up for a long time. It was really a palm suppression. Chapter 847. No one expected that Jiangchen would suppress the other party with one palm. This palm strike was very fast and very sudden. Before anyone could react, the battle was over. As expected of silly girl. I admire you. At this moment, the lower god stood up. His body seemed to be swaying, and his injuries were not light. He cupped his hands at Jiangchen and then said loudly, I lost. After saying that, he rushed to the altar in Haotian City, as if he had no face to stay here. In the blink of an eye, he left the void god realm. Isn't this too exaggerated? Jiangchen muttered. The person invited by Lose Every Bet was strong, but his acting skills were really bad. This is a fake match, right? Some people doubted that a lower god could suppress a lower god with one palm. The gap was too big. It was impossible. He must have gone easy on him. I don't know where he hired the internet water army. The people present were not stupid. They could see that there was something fishy about this battle. However, the truth was in front of them. Jiangchen had indeed won. Then, Jiangchen returned to his room. Lose Every Bet had been waiting in the room for a long time. As soon as they met, Jiangchen's face darkened and said, Isn't his acting too exaggerated? With a single palm strike, he was already lying on the ground? Can others believe it? It's like this once, twice, but what if it's always like this 3 or 4 times? Others have to believe it even if they don't. Lose Every Bet smiled and said, I'll arrange a few more for you tomorrow, and then on the last day, I'll give you a big one. Will it be seen through? Jiangchen said worriedly. Impossible, don't worry about me. Lose Every Bet said. Just wait for the money. I hope so. Jiangchen nodded. On the second day, a few more experts showed up. The weakest among them was a lower-level venerable god, while the strongest was a higher-level venerable god. It was no different from the first day. These people had agreed to fight with Jiangchen outside the city. And in these few battles, every bet was bound to be lost. He must have warned the other party, so these few battles were very intense. At the very least, they had fought over 100 rounds. Of course, the results were the same. Either Jiangchen had the upper hand, or he won by a narrow margin. But no matter what, Jiangchen had never lost a single battle. Is he really that strong? Over the past 2 days, I've defeated 4 gods. There's even a higher god among them. Too fierce. If the first day's battle was exaggerated, but today's battle was clear as day. When he fought with that upper-level god, the two of them fought very intensely. Yes, silly girl won by a narrow margin. On this day, almost everyone believed in Jiangchen's strength. The entire Haotian city was discussing this matter. Even in the outside world, Jiangchen's invincible legend was circulating among the major sects. At the same time, Qinzhilu also received the news from Aolai Heavenly Gate. His heart couldn't help but tighten. This battle was of great importance to him. As the little holy son of Aolai Heavenly Gate, the reason he participated in this battle was to save face for Aolai Heavenly Gate. If he lost, not only would he lose face for Aolai Heavenly Gate, but he might also be abandoned by Aolai Heavenly Gate and no longer be the little holy son. Therefore, to him, this battle could only be won. Of course, he didn't know that he could win this battle even if he fought. Is this silly girl really that powerful? Qinzhilu frowned. He felt that this matter was somewhat strange. However, the higher-ups of Aolai Heavenly Gate didn't think so. Qinzhilu had already received the order that if he lost this battle, he would be abandoned. From then on, he could forget about competing for the position of Holy Son. At the same time, the higher-ups were also wondering if a lesser true god was really that powerful. Could there be some hidden secrets? Young master, that silly girl is too strong. I think you should put aside the enmity between you for the time being. On this day, in Nine Heavens sect, a white-haired old man stood beside Zhou Tian and bitterly advised. During this period of time, Zhou Tian had been searching for Jiangchen's whereabouts. Even the sect master was alarmed. She had to destroy Jiangchen no matter what. Since he is willing to accept the challenge, then, let eldest senior brother go. As long as he dares to accept the challenge, let eldest senior brother kill him, Zhou Tian said solemnly. Zhou Tian's appearance was like a lowly, but she was vicious and merciless. This, all right. The white-haired old man sighed. In the entire Nine Heavens sect, other than the sect master, no one dared to go against Zhou Tian's wishes. Time passed slowly until it was the 3rd day since Jiangchen entered the Void God world. He's here. After today, your name will spread far and wide. You will lose every bet. Quietly entered Jiangchen's room. He raised his eyebrows and said, Now that your odds have come down, Qinzhilu's odds have increased by a lot. Oh? How much? Jiangchen asked. That's hard to say. In short, today's battle, after you win, the odds will undergo a tremendous change. You will lose every bet said. Just as his voice fell, you will lose every bet's expression changed, seemingly having received some news. He did not say much and directly disappeared on the spot. At the same time, on Clear Sky City's teleportation altar, a youth in white clothes walked out. He carried a purple longsword on his back, stepped on a nebula, and had an imposing aura. He was Nine Heavens sect's eldest disciple, the eldest senior brother that Zhou Tian spoke of, Yiyun. Yiyun? Nine Heavens sect's eldest disciple. Upper God! What did he come here for? Could it be, to take revenge for Zhou Tian? Many people saw Yiyun and guessed. And right at this moment, you will lose every bet appeared. He secretly sent a voice transmission, inviting Yiyun to a hidden place for a chat. You will lose every bet from 1,000 Years Gambling House. It's my honor to meet Brother Yiyun today. You will lose every bet laughed. 1,000 Years Gambling House? Yiyun frowned and said coldly, I don't associate with people like you. If there's nothing important, don't disturb me. Brother Yiyun, according to the latest news from 1,000 Years Gambling House, you seem to have encountered some trouble in the process of breaking through to the titled deity realm. You will lose every bet's eyes lit up as he said. 1,000 Years Gambling House has a way to help you step into the titled deity realm. Yi Yun's expression changed drastically, and a murderous aura appeared on his body. He stared at You Will Lose Every Bet and said coldly, 1,000 Years Gambling House is investigating me? You're not the only one we've investigated. All of the famous young gods have been investigated by the Thousand Autumns Gambling House. What do you mean? Yi Yun asked. Very simple. We will help you step into the titled deity realm, and you will lose to Silly Girl. You will lose every bet said. As everyone knows, your strength is above Chinjulu. If you lose to Silly Girl, then you will lose every bet? Yi Yun's face darkened as he said, I won't participate in this kind of thing. Oh? Is that so? Then do you want to step into the titled deity realm? That's the mysterious realm that all cultivators dream of stepping into. You will lose every bet joked. It's fine if you don't agree. Anyway, there are plenty of people who will agree. Chapter 848. Titled God was a mystical realm. Many cultivators in the world wanted to step into it but could not. It could be said that after becoming a god, every god's dream and goal was to step into the titled God realm. Only by becoming a titled god would one be able to obtain many special powers and titles. These so-called titles were bestowed by the heavens. They had special powers and were extraordinary. A titled god was able to compete with a king god. When a titled god became a king god, his combat strength was terrifying enough to compete with a king god. Although he would not be able to defeat a king god, he would still have the strength to fight. In the past, all of the lord gods who had besieged and tried to kill Jiangchen had started off as titled deities through cultivation. Otherwise, no matter how many kings there were, they would not be a match for a king god. At this moment, Must Lose stared at Yi Yun and said, I am giving you a chance. If you don't cherish it, you will miss it. 1,000 Years Gambling House specializes in shady business. I don't want to be associated with you, Yi Yun said coldly. As far as I know, the current sect leader of Nine Heavens sect is about to step down, right? Who is the next sect leader? Is it you? Do you have the qualifications? Must Lose Every Bet asked with a faint smile. As soon as he said this, Yi Yun's expression changed. Just as Must Lose said, Nine Heavens sect was about to change their sect leader. The current sect leader wanted to step down and cultivate in peace. In the current Nine Heavens sect, there were not many people who were qualified and had the strength to compete for the next sect leader. However, Yi Yun was not one of them. Although Yi Yun was the chief disciple of Nine Heavens sect, he was just a disciple. He was not the holy son of Nine Heavens sect, let alone the little holy son. He was not qualified to compete for the sect leader's position. All of this was because he had not stepped into the realm of titled God. If I do this, will it spread? After a few breaths, Yi Yun thought for a while and asked, My Thousand Autumns Gambling House has always done things in the dark. How can we let others know? Must Lose Every Bet laughed. How about it? Have you thought it through? Tell me, what do you want me to do? Yi Yun asked. It's very simple. Fight with Silly Girl and then lose. That's all, Lose Every Bet said. You want me to lose to that silly girl? Yi Yun raised his eyebrows and said in a low voice. Even if I lose, will the others believe it? After many people have been defeated, they will naturally believe it. Lose Every Bet said. When you lose, I will give you that thing, and you will be able to enter the realm of titled deity. Yi Yun frowned. After a moment of silence, he finally agreed. Losing to Jiangchen was just a loss of face. However, compared to face, Yi Yun cared more about strength and status. If he could become a titled god, then he could become the little holy son of the Nine Heavens sect, or even a holy son. Then, he would have a chance to compete for the position of sect leader of the Nine Heavens sect. If he succeeded, he would become the sect leader of the Nine Heavens sect. His cultivation had also reached the level of a titled deity. To Yi Yun, this was a very good deal. Act more realistically. Don't let people see through you, Lose Every Bet said, and then his figure disappeared. Half an hour later, Yun had made a plan. Then he acted according to his own script. He would shout outside the hostel where Jiang Chen was staying, and he would elevate his status as much as possible. Jiang Chen naturally knew that Yun had been bought over by Lose Every Bet. After he accompanied Yun for a while, the two of them arrived outside Clear Sky City. This battle could be said to be the focus of everyone's attention. Yun, the chief disciple of the Nine Heavens sect, was an upper-level god. His strength was not weaker than Qinjulu's. Now, almost everyone in Clear Sky City had come. They wanted to see if Jiang Chen's invincible legend would be broken. This time, he will definitely lose. Who is Yun? He is the chief disciple of the Nine Heavens sect. It is said that his strength is even higher than Qinjulu's. No matter how strong Silly Girl's combat strength is, she is no match for Yun. In fact, there is nothing to see in this battle. We are all here just to see Silly Girl's invincible legend being broken. Everyone thought the same. They thought that Jiang Chen would definitely lose this battle. Soon, the battle also began. Under Yun's careful planning, he and Jiang Chen launched an intense battle. The two of them exchanged more than 1,000 rounds. Both of them were wounded and their bodies were covered in blood. In the end, Jiang Chen narrowly defeated Yun with half a move. I have lost. At this moment Yun sighed. He looked up at the sky and said with a little sadness, I did not expect that I, Yun, would actually lose to a lower-level true god in my life. Yun is very strong. Jiang Chen praised from the bottom of his heart. Of course, he did not only say that Yun was strong, but also that his acting skills were very good. If Jiang Chen did not know that Yun had been bought over by Lose Every Bet, perhaps even he would not have known that this was a fake battle. Young people, the world in the future depends on you. Yun was surprised and seemed to have suffered a big blow. After saying a few words, he left sadly. At this moment, everyone was moved. No one thought that Jiang Chen would win again. Silly Girl! An invincible legend! How strong is he? Suddenly, someone let out a strange cry and rushed back into Vast Sky City. Afterward, many people reacted and rushed back one by one, heading straight for the major gambling houses in Haotian City. Silly Girl can even defeat Yun. What is a mere Qinjulu? All on Silly Girl to win. If the previous few matches were fake, then this one is definitely real. That's right. Yun is from Nine Heavens sect, and Silly Girl in Nine Heavens has a great hatred. Yun would never fake a match for Silly Girl. For a time, the business of the major gambling houses was bursting. Someone had bet everything on Jiang Chen, betting on his victory. However, at this moment, Jiang Chen was sitting in the room with Lose Every Bet. The two drank tea, narrowed their eyes, and had smiles on their faces. How much can we earn this time? Jiang Chen took a sip of tea and asked. I'm not sure. In short, we made a lot of money. Lose Every Bet smiled and said, I don't know how many people will jump down from the rooftop. 1,000 Years Gambling House is really black-hearted. Jiang Chen said softly, then smiled and said, But I like it. After saying that, Jiang Chen thought of something and could not help but ask. The profit is 50-50. Then can my part be exchanged for an equivalent source of Dao? Oh? This? Dao source is rare and can't be exchanged with equivalent value, right? Lose Every Bet frowned and said, 460, 1,000 Years Gambling House 60%, you 40%. In this case, I can help you exchange that 40% of the profit for Dao source and give it to you. Okay. Deal. Jiang Chen agreed. Only because what he lacked the most now was Dao's source. As for other things, Jiang Chen did not care for the time being. Chapter 849. Everything was going according to his plan of losing every bet. Jiang Chen was happy to have some free time. As far as he was concerned, all he needed to do was to fake the match after Qinjulu arrived. What do you plan to do in the future? Must Lose suddenly asked. What do you mean? Jiang Chen was puzzled. You've caused such a big commotion in the Void God world. Now many top sects are looking for you. They're digging up your background. One day you'll be exposed. Must Lose continued. At that time, if you don't have a top power behind you, I'm afraid you'll die suddenly. You don't have to worry about that. Jiang Chen smiled. He was not worried at all. Jiang Chen did not have many forces behind him, but they were not few either. Moreover, they all had experts. For example, Katsura Matsuda, Hong Yi, and his senior brothers and sisters. Moreover, some of Jiang Chen's old friends were still alive in the divine realm of the Nine Clouds, and some of his apprentices were still alive. At that time, as long as he met with them, who would Jiang Chen be afraid of? Speaking of which, it was at this moment that Jiang Chen's eyes lit up. He said, "How about this? You can give me 30% of the 40% profit to exchange for the doctrine's source. As for the remaining 10%, you can exchange it for materials used to set up formations." Materials for setting up the array? Must Lose was puzzled. "I have a use for it," Jiang Chen said mysteriously. "It's best if you can give it to me now." "Now?" Must Lose frowned and seemed to be in a difficult position. The materials for setting up the array and even the Tao source were naturally nothing to the 1,000 Years gambling house. After all, they were in a shady business with huge profits. Their foundation was unimaginably deep. However, time was too short. "Give me 1 day," Must Lose said. "I'll give you a little first. When the time comes, I'll refund you and make up for it. What do you think?" "Okay, tomorrow at this time, I'll wait for you here," Jiang Chen said. "Okay." Then, Must Lose left in a hurry to prepare the Tao source and materials for setting up the array for Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen sat in place with a smile on his face. He knew that he would definitely lose the battle between him and Qinzhulu. Therefore, it didn't matter to him whether he fought or not. Moreover, that battle would definitely attract the attention of the world. All the major sects would send people to watch the battle. In fact, 80 to 90% of the people in the Void God realm would come. At that time, wouldn't there be no one left in the Void God realm? At the thought of this, Jiang Chen was overjoyed. However, Jiang Chen was not in a hurry. He waited quietly in the room. After all, if they wanted to take action, they had to have enough resources first. Just like that, he waited for a day, and You Will Lose every bet arrived as scheduled, bringing with him 30 drops of Tao source, as well as a large pile of formation materials. "Don't worry. Although my 1,000 Autumn gambling house deals in shady business, we are very trustworthy," Every Bet Must Lose said. "Because the plates haven't been sealed yet, I'm not sure how much we can earn. I'll give you these first. If we earn more, I'll give you more." "Sure, no problem." Jiang Chen nodded. After saying that, Jiang Chen put away these things and smiled at Every Bet Must Lose. He asked, "Do you know if there are any good paradises in the Faux God world?" "There are several of them." You Will Lose Every Bet subconsciously said. "Qingyun, Liantian, J-Wave, Alcade, these few blessed lands are all very good. They are not much worse than Guangming Blessed Land." "Oh? Then, where are these blessed lands?" Jiang Chen asked. He wasn't a fool who was bound to lose every time he gambled. He hadn't thought about it before, but now that he heard Jiang Chen's words, he seemed to realize something. He stared at Jiang Chen with a strange expression and asked, "You can't be cough cough. My sect is too poor. We don't even have any mountains, rivers, and plants. I'm preparing to bring some of the Void God realm's local specialties back to my sect," Jiang Chen said with a smile. Local specialties? Blessed lands? You Will Lose Every Bet was dumbfounded. Jiang Chen had already moved away a Guangming Blessed Land. Could it be that he wanted to move another one now? "But you need so many materials to set up the array. You can't be going to move a few of them, right?" You Will Lose Every Bet realized the seriousness of the problem. "That's right." Jiang Chen was very calm. In any case, he was now on the same boat as You Will Lose Every Bet, so there was nothing to hide. However, you will lose every bet. Heard this and his entire body trembled. He said, the few caves I mentioned before, Qingyun, Liantian, J-Wave, and Alcade, among them, Liantian blessed land belongs to my Qianqiu gambling house. You can't move it. Oh. Then the remaining 3 are no problem, right? Jiangchen asked. Qingyun is Kunlun Mountains, Jade Wave is Aoi Heavenly Gates, and Alcade is Alcade Divine Sex. You will lose every bet. Said. These 3 blessed lands, if you have the ability to move them, then go and move them. That's not a problem. Jiangchen joked, his eyes shining, and said, when the time comes, draw me a map and coordinates, and do me a favor. What favor? You will lose every bet. Asked. Help me stall for time. Jiangchen raised his eyebrows. I'll tell you the details slowly. Then, Jiangchen told you will lose every bet. The plan in his heart. After you will lose every bet. Heard this, his expression was strange. He stared at Jiangchen and said, people like you. Why don't you just join my Qianqiu gambling house? You're so evil. How is this evil? Jiangchen muttered. Those top sects, so what if they have 1 less blessed land? It's not like they'll lose a piece of meat. But this time, you're really making a big deal out of it. You will lose every bet. Said. Other people don't know my real identity. What's there to be afraid of? Jiangchen said. Then Jiangchen patted you will lose every bet's shoulder and said jokingly, instead of saying that I've boarded your pirate ship, it's better to say that you've walked on my path of no return. You're such a scammer. You will lose every bet. Curse softly. He had scammed others his whole life, but he never thought that he would meet someone who could scam others more than him. Moreover, he knew what Jiangchen was going to do. This time, Jiangchen had scammed too many people. Then you be careful. You will lose every bet. Said in a low voice. If you're exposed, don't tell anyone about my Qianqiu gambling house. Don't worry. Jiangchen said softly. In the next few days you will lose every bet. Sent someone to deliver a map and mark the coordinates. He even planned out Jiangchen's escape route for him. Then you will lose every bet. Disappeared. Jiangchen also left quietly. Time passed slowly. 5 days later, Chenjilu came. This time, he entered the Void God realm with his real body. His arrival undoubtedly caused a huge commotion. On this day, people from the Void God realm and even the outside world, from the overgods to the low-level cultivators, all came to Clear Sky City. They wanted to watch this battle, but most of them were there because they had placed their bets on it. Silly Girl will win. Even Yi Yun is not Silly Girl's opponent. What is Chenjilu? Many people were full of confidence in Jiangchen. These words reached Chenjilu's ears, making his heart palpitate and nervous. Chapter 850. Chenjilu had always been very confident in himself. Ao Lai Heavenly Gate also had high hopes for him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to become the little holy son of Ao Lai Heavenly Gate. However, today, he began to doubt himself. In order to reach a higher level in the future, he had condensed his cultivation and realm. Currently, his cultivation was only at the Mystique Venerable rank. However, without condensing his cultivation, his strength was indeed weaker than Yi Yun's. Now, when he heard that Jiangchen could defeat Yi Yun, his heart tightened. In the eyes of outsiders, Chenjilu was still calm and even full of confidence. However, no one knew better than him that his back was covered in cold sweat. You're not weaker than Yi Yun. In a battle of the same level, you'll only be stronger than Yi Yun. An old man who accompanied him comforted him. It's just that there's a problem with your cultivation technique. Therefore, in the eyes of outsiders, you're no match for Yi Yun. I'm no match for him, Chenjilu said calmly. Just as the old man said, Chenjilu was very strong. Unfortunately, there was a huge problem with his cultivation technique. In order to pursue supreme strength, he had chosen Ao Lai Heavenly Gate's forbidden cultivation technique. This cultivation technique was too difficult to cultivate. The requirements were too strict. As a result, Chenjilu had never been able to truly unleash his strength. However, under normal circumstances, this strength was enough. But now, if I lose, I'll lose my status as the little holy son of Aeoli Heavenly Gate, Chinjulu said softly. Aeoli Heavenly Gate will lose face because of this and abandon me. There's no other way. Aeoli Heavenly Gate is the top sect in the divine realm of the 9 firmaments. Sometimes they have no choice but to do some things. The old man sighed. But I don't want to lose, Chinjulu said in a deep voice. He had walked all the way from an ordinary disciple to where he was today. He had a chance to become the holy son of Aeoli Heavenly Gate. However, who would have thought that after his clone was defeated by Jiangchen in the Haotian convention, it would lead to such a huge problem? Now, he had no choice but to descend with his real body and fight with Jiangchen. He had been very confident in the past. However, now, he had no confidence. Since things have come to this, we can only fight, the old man said. The old man said, Don't worry. Even if you lose, you can still stay in Aeoli Heaven sect. It's just that I'm no longer a little saint, and I don't have the chance to become a real saint. Chinjulu smiled bitterly. This was the cruel competition within the top sects. Everyone, I'm Silly Girl's friend. She's busy right now, so she might be a little late. At this time, Must Lose Every Bet came. He cupped his hands towards Chinjulu and the old man and said, Why don't we go outside the city and wait for a bit? He'll be here soon. Since he has come, this battle is unavoidable. Chinjulu sighed. Let's wait for him outside the city. The battle is about to begin. Finally! We've struck it rich this time. Silly Girl will win. What a pity. I'm afraid that Chinjulu won't be able to make a comeback after this battle. The commotion in the surroundings shook the heavens, and no one cared about Chinjulu's thoughts. On the other side, Tianzi also came. As Chinjulu's friend, he had entered the void god world with his true body. However, he did not greet Chinjulu. He knew that Chinjulu was more nervous than anyone else. Where is he? After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, everyone was waiting for Jiangchen outside the city. However, Jiangchen had yet to appear. Chinjulu frowned and asked Must Lose Every Bet. What's the matter with him? Why hasn't he come yet? Maybe he's a little angry. Must Lose Every Bet explained. You will lose every bet explained. He entered the void god world a long time ago and waited for you for several days. Now that he hasn't appeared, it might be because he wants you to wait for him. That makes sense. Chinjulu nodded and did not doubt it. As for the others, no one doubted it either. After all, Jiangchen could even defeat Yiyun. Why would he be afraid of Chinjulu? Since Must Win Every Bet firmly believed that Jiangchen was delayed by something, but he would definitely come. Just like that, the group waited quietly. After the time it took for 3 incense sticks to burn, Chinjulu asked again. Is he still not here? He's on the way. Must Lose Every Bet said with a smile. His expression was natural and calm as he said, Soon. Then let's wait a little longer. Chinjulu said softly. At this moment, a black figure was quietly approaching Clear Sky Paradise. After observing the surroundings for a while, he discovered that there was no one in Clear Sky Paradise. Presumably, they had all gone to watch Chinjulu's battle. Hey, you guys wait patiently. The black figure laughed mockingly. The face in the darkness was Jiangchen. Soon after, he began to set up a formation. He spent a lot of materials to set up a teleportation formation and set the coordinates. But this time, Jiangchen had experience, and he erased the mark in the Blessed Land. Next, Jiangchen went to Jadewave Paradise and Alcade Paradise. He discovered that there was no one there. This made him very excited. It seemed that those people had all gone to watch the battle between him and Chinjulu. Moreover, the owners of these paradises were all top sections. They would never have thought that someone would be so bold as to move a mountain. Half a day has passed. Is he coming or not? Half a day later, Chinjulu was still waiting outside Clear Sky City. However, he did not see Jiangchen's figure. Must lose every bet said calmly. I'm transmitting a message to him. He's on the way. However, the journey is a little far. I think he'll be here in the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Forget it. Anyway, we've waited for so long. It doesn't matter if we wait a little longer, Chinjulu said. However, he was getting more and more nervous. At the same time, a few people's expressions became a little strange. This was because they sensed that something seemed to have happened in their paradise. The power of the imprint seemed to have disappeared. Maybe the fluctuation of power in the paradise is too great. It temporarily covered up the imprint. Who dares to cause trouble in the paradise of Kunlun Mountain? These people were quite calm, and they didn't expect that their blessed lands had already been taken advantage of by Jiangqin. Time passed slowly. Jiangqin did not show up until the sun set and the sky turned dark. Finally, when the moon rose, Must Lose Every Bet's face suddenly turned ugly. He walked to Chinjulu's side. First, he stuttered for a while. Then, he said, he's not a match for you. He admitted defeat. What? Admitted defeat? Admitted defeat without a fight. Must Lose Every Bet's voice was not loud, but it was not soft either. After he finished speaking, the surroundings were in an uproar. Especially those who bet on Jiangqin. They could not stand still. Their eyes turned black and they almost fainted. Chinjulu was also stunned. He stared at Must Lose Every Bet and asked, Are you sure? He admitted defeat without a fight? Chapter 851. The crowd had been waiting for an entire day, but no one had expected such an outcome. Many people cursed angrily, and some even declared that the bet was not counted. He has admitted defeat. Since he has admitted defeat, the bet is considered a success. That's right. We only care about the result, not the process. The people of the gambling houses had declared that they would not refund the money. Some of the gambling houses had even sent experts to guard the branches of the gambling houses. Silly! You're cheating us. This is too tragic. I'm going bankrupt. Many people could not stand still, and they had bet all their money. In the end, Jiangqin had admitted defeat without even fighting. What a huge loss. They had lost so much blood. At this moment, Jiangqin had admitted defeat without a fight. For some people, this was undoubtedly the best outcome, and it was also the happiest outcome. For example, he did not care about the process. As long as Jiangqin lost, the bet would be considered a success, and the Qianqiu gambling house would make a fortune. There was another person, and that was Chinjulu. He had been worried that if he lost, he would lose everything. Now that Jiangqin had admitted defeat, he had won. Although they didn't exchange blows, there were so many people watching and listening. He did not care about the process. He only wanted to win. Congratulations, little holy son. The old man beside Chinjulu heaved a sigh of relief. As long as Chinjulu won, he would still be the little holy son of the Aolai Heavenly Sect, and the Aolai Heavenly Sect's reputation would be preserved. After this, Chinjulu's position in the Aolai Heavenly Sect would be even higher, and he might even be conferred the title of Holy Son. He can even defeat Yiyun. Why doesn't he dare to fight with Chinjulu? There must be something fishy about this. Many people were angry, and they felt that something was wrong. However, the people of the gambling houses also spoke. They did not care about this. If these people thought that there was something fishy about this bet, they could just ask Silly Girl, and not the gambling houses. Many people began to move, and they sent out a large number of people to search for Jiangqin. They wanted to get to the bottom of the matter. He's here! All of a sudden, Lose Every Bet's face darkened as he saw 3 tall mountains moving towards them from the distant horizon. And in front of these 3 mountains, a young man stood in the air. Radiance floated around him, and there were even array formations and talismans revolving around him. That is, no matter how I look at it, it looks like Qingyun Blessed Land. Isn't that Jade Wave Blessed Land? The one at the back is, damn it! That is my family's Yaoguang Blessed Land! At this moment, many people were enraged, seeing that their own blessed lands were actually floating in the direction of Haotian's city. That silly girl! What is he doing? Soon, everyone saw the young man's face. It was Jiang Chun. He's moving mountains again. Someone let out a strange cry with a strange expression. It was only at this moment that everyone came to their senses. Habitual offender. He's definitely a repeat offender. He stole the blessed land again. Instantly, the people from the various blessed lands stood up and rushed over. They did not want to lose their own blessed lands like the Light Clan. Many chief gods directly attacked. Across thousands of miles, palm prints and fist lights were like the sun, striking out horizontally. There were also people who used secret techniques. Shocking thunder directly bombarded Jiangchen. However, this time, Jiangchen was fully prepared. Not only did he set up a teleportation array formation, but he also set up many defensive arrays. Not only did he protect the 3 blessed lands, but he also protected himself well. When those attacks landed on by Yumi beside him, they exploded one after another, and were all blocked by the arrays. Even the chief god's attacks did not have the slightest effect at this moment. After more than 10 breaths, Jiangchen brought the 3 blessed lands to the outside of Haotian city. When he saw Qinzhilu, he waved at Qinzhilu and said, "We meet again, what a coincidence. You are here to accept the challenge?" Qinzhilu's heart tightened. He secretly thought that this battle still had to be fought in the end. He did not have confidence in his heart, and was really panicking. "I have already admitted defeat. I am not your opponent," Jiangchen said directly. "I am not here to fight with you now. I want to go home." "Admit defeat? Go home?" Qinzhilu blinked and then frowned. He asked the elder beside him, "Is the blessed land of Alai Heavenly Sect in the Void God realm still there?" "And it is still there. I can feel the existence of the imprint." The elder wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and hurriedly sensed for a moment. Finally, he heaved a sigh of relief. However, on the other side, Tianzi was furious. "Fool! Put down my Kunlun Mountain blessed land!" Tianzi roared and flew up into the sky. This time, he had entered the Void God realm with his real body. However, to Jiangchen, it did not matter if you were a clone or a real body. It had nothing to do with him. Around him were layers upon layers of formations. Even if a chief god attacked, they would not be able to harm him at all. "Tianzi, I will just borrow it for a period of time. When the time comes, I will return it to you." Jiangchen laughed. "Why don't you borrow Alai Heavenly Sect's blessed land?" Tianzi subconsciously said, his heart filled with resentment. "My methods are limited. I can only move 3 at a time." Jiangchen said, stroking his chin and nodding. "However, what you said makes sense. Alai Heavenly Sect's blessed land should not be bad. I can consider it next time." "Tianzi! What are you talking about? Your blessed land has been moved away and you still want to harm our family." Qinzhilu glared. "Stop arguing. Stop him. We can't let him leave just like that." At this moment, many people had retreated. Only the chief gods were left. They surrounded Jiangchen and used all kinds of methods. Secret technique attacks were like a storm, drowning Jiangchen. However, it was useless. "Don't waste your energy. Unless a divine king makes a move, otherwise, you can't stop me," Jiangchen said with a smile. "This is too much. You moved away a light blessed land before. Isn't that enough? Are you planning to empty all the blessed lands in the Void God realm?" Many people shouted angrily. "If I have the chance, I really want to empty the Void God realm," Jiangchen said very seriously. "There are too many good things in the Void God realm. I'm envious just looking at them." Everyone was speechless. They thought to themselves, "Your heart is really big. You still want to empty the Void God realm? Why don't you just move the Void God realm away? You've gone too far." Suddenly, a voice that sounded like Sanskrit rang out. Jiang Chen's expression suddenly changed. His entire body tensed up and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Just the words, "You've gone too far," almost caused Jiang Chen's body to explode. Even his soul and divine soul suffered a considerable impact. Divine King! Jiang Chen was shocked. He thought to himself, has someone become a divine king now? Otherwise, under the protection of so many formations, the chief gods could not hurt him at all. Only a divine king had that strength. Chapter 852. Just 4 words had such power. Jiang Chen could not imagine it. Could it be that a godly king had really come? In this era, only one person could become a godly king. Once someone became a godly king, no matter how strong the other chief gods were, they could not step into the godly king realm. This was also why so many chief gods had ambushed Jiang Chen back then. It was because those chief gods wanted to become a godly king and had the hope and qualifications to step into the godly king realm. Now that 3,000 years had passed, could it be that someone had really become a godly king? It's him! The Lord of Light! Suddenly, there was a hubbub of voices. There were even people who knelt down to pay respects. On the altar of Clear Sky City, a man shrouded in light stood there. He was very calm, but he gave off an unparalleled pressure. It was as if his existence was the sky itself. Under the sky, everyone was an ant. Jiang Chen saw it too. Blood vessels appeared in his eyes as he clenched his fists. There was even a burst of killing intent in his heart. However, Jiang Chen suppressed it very quickly. It was because he did not want the Lord of Light to know his identity. Moreover, Jiang Chen could also tell that the Lord of Light was still a chief god. It was just that he was very close to becoming a godly king but had not stepped into the godly king realm. I've heard a little about you. At this moment, the Lord of Light stood there and said calmly, let it go. Let it go! Jiang Chen raised his brows. How can I let go of something that I've picked up so easily? If you don't let it go, you won't be able to return, the Lord of Light said. His voice was as calm as ever, giving off a peaceful feeling. However, Jiang Chen knew very well how terrifying this person was. Beneath that calm and peaceful exterior, there was a dark heart hidden. His ambition was no less than anyone else's. His methods were no worse than anyone else's. In fact, he was even more ruthless. Just a demon cloaked in light, Jiang Chen said softly. Without pausing, he activated the formation and arrived in Clear Sky City. At this moment, he was merely 100 meters away from the Lord of Light. TSK. He's not afraid of the Lord of Light? Is he going to take him head-on? Not head-on. He's provoking the Lord of Light. Everyone was moved. Ever since Tianqin Deity King fell, the Radiant Master God had become one of the big shots in the 9th Firmament Divine World. There were even rumors that he was the person most likely to step into the Divine King realm. It could be said that in the current 9 Firmaments Divine World, if the Radiant Master God said one word, not many people would dare to say 2 words. But now, a lesser true god had actually dared to directly challenge the Sovereign of Light. This kid. Is he really that naive, or is he that confident? Lose Every Bet frowned. He was suddenly very curious about Jiang Chen's identity. Previously, he had cooperated with Jiang Chen and did not care about Jiang Chen's identity and background. But now, he was bound to lose every bet. He had a feeling that he needed to investigate Jiang Chen's background. If I say that there's no way for you to return, then there's no way for you to return, the Radiant Master God said softly as the radiance on his body grew brighter and brighter. At the same time, he slowly extended a palm and collided with the array around Jiang Chen. The seemingly gentle palm actually carried the law of light, and there was even a terrifying force colliding. The array patterns flickered indeterminately, and even cracks appeared. Several array formations collapsed in an instant. But this time, Jiang Chen had made sufficient preparations. He had set up more than one defensive array formation around him. Sovereign of Light, is it? If you attack again, don't blame me for being impolite to the Light Clan in the future, Jiang Chen said. He's threatening the Sovereign of Light? Isn't he a little too bold? Everyone exclaimed. They had never thought that not only did Jiangchen face the Sovereign of Light directly, but he also provoked and threatened him. Even the Sovereign of Light was stunned for a moment. The divine light on his body flickered, and he did not speak for a few breaths. "You make me very interested," the Sovereign of Light said. "If I say you can't return today, then you can't return. Even if your means are heaven-defying, even if you can really shatter the array formations I've set up. But, do you have enough time?" Jiangchen said mockingly. As soon as he said that, hundreds of array formations appeared around Jiangchen once again. Since Jiangchen dared to move away 3 blessed lands this time, he must have made sufficient preparations. In fact, Jiangchen had already thought that even if he was surrounded by dozens of chief gods, he would still be able to escape unscathed. And the reality was just as Jiangchen had thought. The Sovereign of Light seemed to be anxious as well. He attacked consecutively, but he did not have much time left. In just a dozen breaths' time, Jiangchen landed on the teleportation altar along with the 3 blessed lands. Then, with a flash of light, he disappeared from Clear Sky City along with the blessed lands. At this moment, the entire place fell silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. They could not believe that a lesser true god had really left right in front of the Sovereign of Light just like that. And he had even taken away 3 blessed lands. Most importantly, he had even threatened the Sovereign of Light. "Investigate." At this moment, the Sovereign of Light merely said a single word and then disappeared. However, it was this single word that made everyone understand that the Sovereign of Light was enraged. Everyone in the 9 heavens divine world knew that ever since the heavenly stellar divine king had fallen, the Sovereign of Light no longer cared about matters. He cultivated wholeheartedly, wanting to break through to the position of the divine king. Calculating the time, it had been almost 3,000 years. No one had seen the Sovereign of Light give an order. And today, the word, investigate, meant that the Sovereign of Light was going to personally take action this time. "Investigate strictly! What are you all doing?" Blessed lands were moved away right in front of our eyes. At the same time, in Kunlun Mountain, within Ally Heaven sect, the various upper echelons were enraged. Their blessed lands in the Void God realm were moved away by someone, and the key was that they did not even know the other party's background. This was too embarrassing. "Everyone, the blessed lands were lost in your hands. The rental fee cannot be low." 10,000 Pong Bank immediately went to find these few sections. To 10,000 Pong Bank, the loss of the blessed lands was other people's business. What they wanted was only the rental fee. However, 10,000 Pong Bank was also looking for Jiangchen. They were very curious about how bold this young man was to dare to move the blessed lands away one after another. Since ancient times, no one had ever dared to do so. For a moment, whether it was the Void God realm or the outside world, a storm surged in secret. As the person involved, Jiangchen had already appeared in Sky-reaching church. "Oh my God! You really dare to do it? I thought you were joking. I didn't expect that. You really intend to buy a blessed land for each of us?" Luo Shu and the rest were dumbfounded. Looking at the 3 blessed lands in front of them, they did not know what to say. Red Caltrip Yarn was full of smiles. Once again, she dotingly patted Jiangchen's head and said, "Little junior brother is so nice. Hee, senior brother and senior sister, I don't have much to give you. I'll just give you a few blessed lands. If you feel that it's not enough, after a while, I'll go to the Void God realm and move a few more back." Jiangchen smiled honestly. He was very shy and looked very obedient and pure. Chapter 853. "Junior brother, you must be a habitual offender. You must have done a lot of such things in the lower world, right?" The smiling god stared at Jiangchen and felt that his junior brother was too ruthless. Not long ago, he moved 1 back. Now, he moved 3 back. That's good. The Sky-reaching sect is already poor. Now that junior brother has moved back a few blessed lands, our Sky-reaching sect will have some face. The Red Caltrip Yarn said softly. She was completely on Jiangchen's side. Luo Shu wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, but he didn't dare to say anything. After all, Jiangchen now had the support of the red caltrip yarn. "All right! Junior brother, is there anything special about you after you cultivated the sky-reaching scripture?" De Xiong suddenly asked. Jiangchen was dumbfounded. He shook his head and said, "Other than shedding my spiritual body and becoming stronger, there's nothing special about me." "Really?" De Xiong frowned and looked at Luo Shu and the others. He said, "How many spiritual bodies did you shed to gain abilities?" 300 for me," the smiling god said. 170 for me," the red caltrip yarn said. 98 for me," Luo Shu said. Then, everyone looked at Jiangchen in confusion. They didn't understand why Jiangchen hadn't gained any special abilities after shedding 500 spiritual bodies. After cultivating the sky-reaching scripture, it wasn't as simple as shedding one's spiritual body. After shedding to a certain extent, one would be able to reach the heavens and gain some special abilities. Strength, magic, art, acting. There are 4 kinds of abilities gained after cultivating the sky-reaching scripture. Luo Shu explained. Logically speaking, you should have gained some kind of ability by now. Ah? Jiangchen was dumbfounded. He said, "Really, I didn't." Then, Jiangchen sensed his own condition. There was no change. "That's impossible," the smiling god said with certainty. "There must be some changes in you. Maybe you didn't notice it. What changes can there be? Do you think I don't know my own situation?" Jiangchen said angrily. "I really didn't gain any abilities. Could it be because of your dragon vein?" The red caltrip yarn frowned. Jiangchen's dragon vein could continue to evolve. Now, it had evolved into the horned dragon's dragon vein, which was 1 level higher than Luo Shu and the others. But in the end, the superior dragon vein still hadn't obtained any special power. The problem should be with the dragon vein. The Great Elder is in seclusion and Master isn't around. We don't know what's going on with you. Luo Shu smiled bitterly. We can only wait for Master to return or for the Great Elder to come out of seclusion. It's fine. I'm not in a hurry. Anyway, I'm doing pretty well right now, Jiangchen said with a smile. Little junior brother, have you ever thought of leveling up your dragon vein again? De Xiong's eyes shone brightly. If it evolves into the winged dragon's dragon vein, perhaps you can surpass the founder of the Sky-Reaching Church. I've heard of that too. The founder of the Sky-Reaching Church shed many spiritual bodies back then. I'm not sure exactly how many, but he was definitely very strong. I've heard from the Great Elder that after the ancestor merged with the spiritual bodies he shed, he suppressed a master god with a flip of his hand. Also, in that era, the ancestor seemed to have the cultivation of a lower true god and was on equal footing with godly kings. Hearing everyone's words, Jiangchen's heart was itching and he was looking forward to it. But soon, Jiangchen felt bitter. It was too difficult to evolve into a dragon vein. Back then, Jiangchen had swallowed many dragon transformation fruits to evolve his snake vein to the horned dragon's dragon vein. And the further he progressed, the more dragon transformation fruits he would need. Jiangchen made a rough estimate. If he wanted to evolve from the horned dragon's dragon vein to the winged dragon's dragon vein, he would need at least 3,000 to 5,000 dragon transformation fruits. And where was he going to find 3,000 to 5,000 dragon transformation fruits? Isn't there a dragon transformation fruit tree in the light-blessed land? If I nurture it well, I'll be able to grow a lot, Jiangchen thought to himself. However, there weren't many dragon transformation fruit trees. Even if they bore fruit 3 times a year, they wouldn't be able to produce so many. Moreover, it would take 100 years for a dragon transformation fruit to ripen once. Senior sister, do you want to see junior brother's dragon vein evolve? At this moment, Jiangchen blinked and looked at the red caltrip yarn with watery eyes. Without waiting for the red caltrip yarn to speak, Jiangchen felt wronged again and muttered, Forget it, I don't have that many dragon transformation fruits. Looks like I won't be able to evolve into a dragon vein for the rest of my life. Just let me live an ordinary and mediocre life. Your King ordinary? Mediocre? Smiling God and De Xiong stared at Jiangqin. They wanted nothing more than to give him a good beating. With your current strength and the horned dragon vein, you're saying you're ordinary? Mediocre? You're asking for a beating. Junior brother, senior sister will help you think of a way. Although the red caltrip yarn knew that Jiangqin was faking it, she really treated Jiangqin as her own brother. She had once lost the person closest to her. Now, she entrusted that family to Jiangqin. Although the red caltrip yarn knew that this young man in front of her wasn't her own brother, she still didn't want him to be her own brother. Junior sister, let's wait for Master to come back first. Luo Shu said in a low voice. Don't think about useless things. I know. The red caltrip yarn nodded. It was rare that she didn't put down her face. After that, Jiangqin stayed in the sky-piercing school for a while. Not long after, Hong Yi came. After she took Jiangqin away, the smiling heavenly god and the others looked at each other in dismay. They all thought to themselves that their youngest junior brother had really been abducted. Sky-piercing school and thoroughly earth sect, where is his home? De Xiong was puzzled and jealous. After a dozen breaths of time, in the thoroughly earth sect, inside Jiangqin's cave. Hong Yi stared at Jiangqin. Her eyes flashed. Since she came back, she hadn't said anything. This made Jiangqin's hair stand. If you have something to say, then say it. Why are you looking at me like that? Jiangqin said weakly. This time, you've caused a big trouble, don't you know? Hong Yi said in a low voice. I know, but they don't know who I really am. Jiangqin shrugged his shoulders indifferently. He said, They can't find me. They can't find you, but they can find the Thoroughly Earth sect. Hong Yi said in a bad mood. The Thoroughly Earth sect wasn't like the sky-piercing school. They didn't need to hide. Therefore, in the ninth firmament, many people knew that Silly Boy was Hong Yi's man. Now that Jiangqin had taken away 3 of the abodes, the first place those top sects and clans thought of was the Chaitan sect. Maybe the experts of Kunlun Mountain, Aolai Heavenly sect, and 9 Heavens sect were on their way to the Thoroughly Earth sect. Unless we have a falling out with them, I won't be able to use the Cleaver sect's resources to protect you with the trouble you've caused, Hong Yi said. Chapter 854. Back then, when the sky-reaching school had suffered a great calamity, Cleaver sect had remained unscathed. From this, one could see how powerful Cleaver sect was. However, Cleaver sect's power couldn't be used easily. It was used to defend against life and death situations. Although Hong Yi wanted to help Jiangqin, she couldn't use Cleaver sect's power for Jiangqin. Even if she agreed, the Grand Elders of the Cleaver sect wouldn't. Then what should I do? Jiangqin asked. You brought this upon yourself, and now you're asking me what to do? Hong Yi glared at Jiangqin. Haven't you thought of a way out? I have. Go to Yingzhou, Jiangqin said. Since you know who I am, you should also know that I have a disciple who's the overlord of Yingzhou. He should be able to protect me for a while. The one from Yingzhou? Hong Yi frowned. She opened her mouth as if she had something to say. Jiangqin saw Hong Yi's expression clearly. His heart skipped a beat. What's wrong with him? As far as I know, there aren't many of your disciples left. Hong Yi sighed. Since your fall, many people around you have died as well. Among them, the most famous one was a divine sense user. He was your best friend. Unfortunately. At this point, Jiangqin's expression suddenly calmed down. He didn't say anything. His eyes were empty, as if he was lost in thought. Hong Yi didn't disturb him. She just stood there. After a long time, Jiangqin suddenly smiled. I'm back. But now, you're not strong enough. Hong Yi sighed. In the ninth firmament, who didn't know how strong Jiangqin was back then? After becoming a titled god, Jiangqin became proficient in all professions. He defeated all his opponents, and killed his way to the position of God King. But now, Jiangqin was just a lesser true god. No matter how strong he was, he was definitely not a match for those over-gods. In fact, Jiangchen would have to admit defeat if he met Her Eminence. Right now, I am not strong enough. However, there will be a day when the me from back then will return, Jiangchen said. With that, Jiangchen suddenly turned around. After taking a few deep breaths, he slowly asked, "How many of my disciples are left?" 3. Hong Yi said. "Your eldest disciple is being hunted down, and is hiding in a forbidden area. We don't know if he's still alive. The second disciple was imprisoned by the Darkness Master God in the Endless Abyss, suffering all sorts of torments and unable to break free. Third disciple's whereabouts are unknown, but there are rumors that he is still alive." Having said that, Red Shirt walked over and patted Jiangchen on the back. He said gently, "If you want to cry, cry it out." "Cry? Why are you crying?" Jiangchen suddenly turned around. Although his eyes were red and moist, he did not shed a single tear. In his hand was a map carved with runes. On it were the names of the various sects and their geographical locations. At the same time, there were a few places that Jiangchen had marked out. Vast Heavenly Court of the Nine Heavens, and neighboring academies, Jiangchen said softly. "Right now, there are only 3 places that can protect me. The prerequisite is that my identity is not exposed. Otherwise, these 3 academies would not dare to take me in." If anyone were to find out that Jiangchen was the reincarnation of God King Tianqin, there would not be many people in the Nine Heavens God world who would dare to protect him. If they were to protect him, it would be equivalent to offending those 36 Master Gods. In this world, who would dare to offend those 36 Master Gods all at once? "You want to go to an academy?" Hong Yi asked softly. Then, she felt relieved. Academies, no matter where they were extremely unique existences. Throughout history, there were many powerful beings who came from these few academies. Some of them, after leaving the academies, established their own sects and established powerful forces that could look down on a region. There were also some who were carefree. However, their cultivation bases were extremely strong. The moment they announced their names, they would have to be wary. It could be said that unless there was no other choice, no one would fight with these academies. "Have you thought it through? Which academy do you want to go to?" Hong Yi asked. "Neighboring academy." Jiangchen glanced at the map and said, "This is the academy closest to Chedi sect. It is also the only academy that I am familiar with." "You know someone in the neighboring academy?" Hong Yi frowned and asked worriedly. "Are you going to look for her? But if she reveals your identity, what will you do?" "Her? She won't." Jiangchen was very confident. No one knew better than Jiangchen what kind of person the neighboring academy was. And Jiangchen, to that person, was very special. Jiangchen was sure that as long as he went to the neighboring academy, that person would do everything possible to protect him. "There is no time to lose. Let's go now," Hong Yi said. She had a premonition that the experts of Kunlun Mountain and the Light Clan would descend here today. "Then, all right." Jiangchen nodded and looked deeply at Hong Yi. He suddenly reached out and stroked Hong Yi's hair. "When we meet in the future, you should change the way you address me." "Oh? What should I call you? Master? Or?" Hong Yi said with a faint smile. "Think about it yourself," Jiangchen said. With that, Jiangchen stood up. He had already found the coordinates. As long as he used Chedi Sect's teleportation formation, he would be able to enter the neighboring academy. "Wait!" Hong Yi pulled Jiangchen back and handed a jade bottle to Jiangchen. "It's within my ability." "What is this?" Jiangchen asked. "I know you need the source of the way. I asked someone to collect it for you. Take it and use it." Hong Yi chuckled. "Perhaps this parting will be forever." "Forever? Forever? Impossible. I will be back," Jiangchen said confidently. After that, Jiangchen and Hong Yi arrived near Chedi Sect's teleportation formation. However, before Jiangchen could step onto the teleportation formation, the sky above Chedi Sect suddenly darkened. Boom! A series of explosions rang out, and the sky seemed to have been torn apart. Terrifying cracks appeared one after another. That was the void being pierced. There was an expert traversing the void, and his destination was here. 13 over gods. 3 peak over gods. A half-step divine king. Hongyi sensed it in an instant. Her expression turned ugly. Because the aura that half-step divine king gave off was even stronger than the one from the divine emperor clan. Shady sect. Hand him over. Hand over that little bastard. Even before they arrived, a thunderous roar of rage pierced through the void and reached the Chejai sect. At this moment, Chedi sect's disciples, elders, and even grand elders were all alarmed. Because in these hundreds and thousands of years, Chedi's sect had always been peaceful. They had never caused any trouble, and no one dared to cause trouble in Chedi sect. But today, so many experts came at once. Moreover, there was an extremely strong half-step divine king. This caused Chedi sect's people to feel fear. Was something big going to happen today? Chapter 855. In an instant, the void was completely torn apart. Dozens of figures stood in the air, their auras covering the entire Chedi sect. Over here! A man covered in a purple radiance saw Jiangchen right away. When he put his palm down, it looked like a cage with 5 fingers. Go! Hongyi exclaimed and pushed Jiangchen onto the teleportation altar. With a wave of her hand, the coordinates were set. Rays of light rose, and Jiangchen was enveloped by countless runes. A void passage appeared, but Jiangchen hesitated. That was because he saw a drop of blood dripping from Hongyi's snow-white hand. She was injured. Clearly, the people who came to the Chedi sect this time were not weak. Even an overgod could injure Hongyi. An overgod of this level was definitely the best. One had to know that Hongyi had defeated a half-step godly king from the emperor clan back then. But now, she was actually injured when facing an overgod. Hongyi! What is the meaning of this? Are you trying to protect him? Making an enemy out of us? Angry shouts rang out one after another, and an extremely terrifying aura erupted. The half-step godly king's eyes shone brightly as he stared at the void passage. Speak, where is the coordinates? They all knew that once the teleportation array was activated, no one could stop it. Now, they could only watch as Jiangchen left. And the only way to find Jiangchen was to find out where Jiangchen had gone. He's one of mine. Hongyi's hair and robes fluttered in the wind. She stood on the teleportation array, facing off against the dozens of experts. She did not retreat. Instead, she shouted at Jiangchen. Why aren't you leaving? You, take care, Jiangchen said softly. He did not know what to say at this moment. Perhaps, to him, this could be considered a type of calamity. But he was more worried about Hongyi. She would be fine, right? Don't worry. Within the Cleaver sect, they won't dare to do anything to me. Hongyi seemed to have noticed Jiangchen's worry. You want to leave? I can't stop you, but I can kill you. The half-step divine king's face was cold. He pointed a finger, and the order of the great Tao collapsed. This finger was like a meteor that pierced through the long river of time and space. In an instant, it touched Jiangchen's body. At this moment, Jiangchen did not dare to hold back. He used everything he had to gather the 3 streams of chaos qi in his body above his head like 3 flowers. At the same time, the array that had been prepared long ago fell down. Barriers and restrictions appeared one after another. Talismans turned into brilliant suns and floated around Jiangchen. Boom! However, this half-step divine king was too terrifying. With just a simple finger, it shattered all of the array formations and restrictions. Even the runes collapsed. If it weren't for the 3 strands of chaotic energy that had neutralized most of the attack, that finger alone would have taken Jiangchen's life. Hongyi! At this moment, Jiangchen's eyes were about to burst. He saw Hongyi standing in front of him, blocking most of the attack for him. Drops of blood fell to the ground. Hongyi's red robes turned deep red, soaked in blood. Let's go, Hongyi said weakly. As she looked back, a smile bloomed on her face. However, there was a trace of regret, reluctance, and even helplessness. "Don't worry, I won't die," Hongyi said softly. In the end, she waved her hand and gently pushed Jiangqin into the void passage. The moment Jiangqin entered the void passage, he could feel that somewhere in the Cleaver sect, an extremely violent energy was awakening. That should be the foundation of the Cleaver sect. "You sensed it, right? I'll be fine." Hongyi waved at Jiangqin. Her smile was sad but beautiful. "The next time we meet, I hope you'll be the one to protect me." "Definitely," Jiangqin said solemnly. Finally, the light disappeared and the void passage closed. Jiangqin disappeared from this place completely. At the same time, in a corner of the Cleaver sect, a calm and weak voice rang out. "When the calamity of the greater 1,000 worlds descended, my Cleaver sect was still safe and sound." That unknown person said. "Now, can your strength compare to the calamity of the greater 1,000 worlds?" Without waiting for the experts in the air to speak, that person said softly. "If you can't, then leave." "Who are you?" the half-step God King asked. He was close to becoming a true God King. His strength was definitely not below that of the Sovereign of Light. But now, he felt a trace of suppression. In fact, he even felt a little fearful. "The 3 mountains and 6 seas," that person said softly. Then, there was no more sound. At this moment, when the experts in the air heard the words 3 mountains and 6 seas, their expressions changed. As though they were struck by lightning, their bodies trembled. No one knew better than them what kind of place the 3 mountains and 6 seas were. Legend had it that it was a primitive place when the heavens and earth were first created. It was a forbidden place. It was also the resting place of the strongest experts in the world. Every living being that came from the 3 mountains and 6 seas was an expert. There were even rumors that if the 3 mountains and 6 seas did not have a special rule, any living being that came from the 3 mountains and 6 seas would be able to unify the 9 heavens' divine world. "Sorry to disturb you, sir. We will take our leave." In an instant the group left. They did not say anything else. They did not even dare to stay in this place. In fact, if they knew that the foundation of the Cleaver sect was related to the 3 mountains and 6 seas, they definitely would not have come today. "Cleaver sect. 3 mountains and 6 seas," the half-step God King said softly. He finally understood why the sky-reaching school was almost destroyed, but the Cleaver sect was safe and sound. It was because the foundation of the Cleaver sect was too strong. However, this also made many people puzzled. The Cleaver sect and the sky-reaching school came from the same sect. Why did the Cleaver sect have such a foundation, but the sky-reaching school did not? It's not that the sky-reaching school does not have such a terrifying foundation. It's just that they have all disappeared, a peak overgod said. Back then, Supreme God 9 Deaths dominated the world. From the godless continent all the way, he even went to the Eternal City and finally came to the 9 heavens' divine world. But for some reason, he suddenly disappeared. Supreme God 9 Deaths is one of them. I heard that the sky-reaching school's strongest foundation is in the godless continent. Someone guessed. I don't know if it's true or not, but these 2 sects are very special. You can't provoke them easily. Unless it's a catastrophe like back then, otherwise, don't provoke them. At this moment, in the Cleaver sect, Hongyi dragged her heavily injured body to an ancient altar in the sect. The altar was very old and emitted an aura of vicissitudes. On the altar there was a broken skull. In the eye sockets of the skull, there were 2 flames dancing. Moreover, there was a surge of life energy on the skull. This skull was alive. It had life. Chapter 856. Flames danced in the empty eye sockets of a broken skull. They flickered like flames. Wisps of life energy appeared. The skull trembled slightly, as if it was alive. It was awakening. There's no need. They've already left. Red wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and said, Unless it's absolutely necessary, don't awaken. The skull did not speak. The flames in the empty eye sockets disappeared. The life energy floating above also dissipated. It fell into silence again. At this moment, Red looked up at the sky. It was as if she had pierced through the endless void and was looking at Jiangchen. She had a smile on her face. The scene of when she first met Jiangchen appeared in her mind. At that time, she was just a child. When she met Jiangchen, she naively said that she wanted to be a godly king when she grew up. At that time, she was naive and innocent. Now, looking back, that godly king had returned. However, he was no longer at his peak. As for her, the child from back then, she had grown to become a powerhouse, the sect master of the Earth Extermination sect. As time passed, the flowers of last night withered. Would the flowers of today still bloom? I wish you all the best, Red said softly. Boom! At the same time, in the sky of the neighboring academy, there was an explosion. The void split open. Jiangchen fell from the void passage. The long-distance teleportation was too unstable. Jiangchen seemed to have been ejected. He crashed into the square of the neighboring academy. In an instant, dust flew everywhere, and blood sprayed out. Around him, a large group of disciples retreated. Some of them even suffered internal injuries from the shock wave. Who dares to attack the neighboring academy? Quick, inform Master! Many disciples were shocked and quickly retreated to the back. Ouch, it hurts! At this moment, in the deep pit in the square, Jiangchen grimaced. All the bones in his body were almost shattered. Fortunately, his injuries were not serious. With Jiangchen's physical body, these injuries were only superficial. It was just that his body was covered in blood. He looked more miserable. Who is it? At this moment, a middle-aged man descended from the sky and stood at the edge of the pit. His eyes flickered with vigilance. But when he saw Jiangchen, a lower true god, he was dumbfounded for a moment. You are here to attack my neighboring academy? The middle-aged man was stunned. What era was this? A lesser true god dared to attack the academy. After all, even a chief god wouldn't dare to casually cause trouble in the academy. I was teleported here. The distance was too far, so the teleportation wasn't stable. Jiangchen explained. I'm sorry for destroying the plaza adjacent to the academy. Teleport here? The middle-aged man frowned and asked. The admissions examination of the neighboring academy has long ended. Why are you still teleporting here? Leave quickly. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Tell Baiming Shui to come out, Jiangchen said. In this situation, no matter how Jiangchen explained, it was useless. Only by meeting Baiming Shui could everything be settled. Baiming Shui was a woman Jiangchen had befriended when he was a god king. Her cultivation was very strong, and she was also considered Jiangchen's confidant back then. Moreover, their relationship was that of a teacher and a friend. The most important thing was that Jiangchen had saved Baiming Shui's life more than once back then. Elder Baiming? Is that someone you can meet just because you want to? The middle-aged man's expression darkened. That's the 9th elder of my neighboring academy. Oh? Baiming Shui has already become an elder? Not bad, Jiangchen said softly, seemingly rather surprised. After all, as far as he knew, Baiming Shui's talent and aptitude weren't very good. According to Jiangchen's estimation, Baiming Shui would cultivate to a lesser chief god at most in this lifetime. On the other hand, it was obviously impossible for a lesser chief god to become an elder in the academy. The academy's status was special. Only true powerhouses could become elders. As for every academy's dean, they were all top-notch chief gods or even half-step godly kings. How dare you? How dare you call Elder Baiming by her name? The middle-aged man rebuked angrily. On account of your young age, leave at once. I say. Jiangchen opened his mouth, but his expression changed drastically all of a sudden. He abruptly turned back to look at the sky in the distance. Thunderbolts and blazing flames were erupting there, and even cracks in the void were densely packed there. They've caught up so quickly? Jiangchen was alarmed, but he soon felt relieved. Those experts who had gone to the Absolute Earth sect earlier were basically all top-notch chief gods, and there was even a half-step godly king. It was all too easy for them to find Jiangchen. Although they couldn't interfere with the transportation channel, they could rely on Jiangchen's residual aura to find Jiangchen in a short period of time. Top-notch chief gods? Half-step godly kings? More than 10 breaths later, when those experts landed in the neighboring academies, the higher-ups of the neighboring academies were alarmed and walked out of their respective residences. At the same time, there were quite a number of onlookers in the plaza. Most of them were disciples of the neighboring academies. They were not afraid. After all, few dared to make a move against the academies since ancient times. What these disciples were most curious about now was why these top powerhouses mustered so many people to come to the neighboring academies. We're taking this person away. The half-step godly king in the lead was very direct, pointing at Jiangchen in the pit. This person isn't a disciple of my neighboring academy. You guys can take him away. That middle-aged man said, feeling even more curious in his heart. How could a lower-ranked true god alarm so many powerhouses? Furthermore, there was even a half-step godly king. I know who he is. Isn't it, silly boy? All of a sudden, someone among the surrounding disciples cried out in surprise, recognizing Jiangchen. For a moment, many people cried out in surprise. Even that middle-aged man was moved. Silly boy, a very awkward name. But now, who in the 9 heavens divine world did not know this name? Especially those who had been to the void god realm, these 2 words silly boy could be said to reverberate like thunder in their ears. He moved away light blessed land. He seized the vast heaven summit's top dog. He moved away 3 more blessed lands. For a moment, news about Jiangchen's deeds spread out. There were even youths whose eyes were full of worship as they said, "Fierce person." But at this moment, anyone could tell that Jiangchen was being targeted by people. I say, the few of you, have no shame? Your cultivation is so high, and you want to bully me, a lower-ranked true god? Do you want some face? Jiangchen walked out of the pit, his face black as he said, "Go find those few senior apprentice brothers and senior apprentice sisters of mine if you have the guts. Don't talk nonsense. Say the whereabouts of those few abodes, and I can let you die more painfully." That half-step godly king said in a cold voice. When Jiangchen heard that, he chuckled and said, "Looks like my words have no weight." Then, changed to another person to talk to you all. Voice faded, Jiangchen raised his head to the sky, following which, he shouted at the top of his voice, "Bai Ming Shui." Chapter 857. The crowd was confused. Why was Jiangchen shouting 9th Elder's name? Was it useful? Those who were after him were not ordinary people, but top lords and a half-step god king. With such a lineup, it would not be a problem to annihilate a sect, let alone kill a lower real god. Tell us the whereabouts of Luo Shu and the rest, then move back to the blessed land and we'll give you a quick death. Another lord looked ferocious and murderous intent surged in his eyes like waves. They were not only here for the blessed lands but also for Luo Shu and the rest. Landscape painter Luo Shu, red caltrip yarn, smiling god of war. When the 3 of them were training outside, not only did they make a name for themselves, but they also made many enemies. Right now, there were enemies among these sovereigns. However, although Luo Shu and the rest were training outside, their whereabouts were erratic and it was difficult for them to find them. Now, Jiangchen was from the same sect as Luo Shu and the rest. Naturally, they wanted to know the whereabouts of Luo Shu and the rest from Jiangchen so that they could kill them. Give me a quick death? Do you dare? Jiangchen mocked. He squinted his eyes and looked deep into the neighboring college. He could not help but smile. In 3 breaths' time, a lady descended from the sky. She was dressed in white and wore a blue hairpin. She had a delicate face and a good figure. She was not considered a peerless beauty, but she gave off a clean feeling and was very pleasing to the eye. 9th Elder, this kid was sent to the neighboring college. These experts are here to kill him. the middle-aged man explained hurriedly. You're the one who called me? Bai Ming-shui ignored the middle-aged man and looked at Jiang Qin. Jiang Qin heard her and smiled faintly. He said softly, Little Shui. Bai Ming-shui's pupils shrank and her expression changed. Her eyes shone brightly and there were runes floating in the bottom of her eyes. After a few breaths' time, she frowned and asked, It's you? It's me. Jiang Qin smiled. No one knew what Bai Ming-shui meant by, It's you. But Jiang Qin knew that Bai Ming-shui knew his identity when he called her Little Snow. Only Jiang Qin could use this nickname. Only Jiang Qin knew that Bai Ming-shui had such a nickname. At the same time, Bai Ming-shui also knew that there was only one person in this world who would call her by that name, and that was godly King Tianqin. If it was before, Bai Ming-shui would not have believed that the person in front of her was Jiang Qin. But one had to know that after Jiang Qin reincarnated, he caused a huge commotion in the godless continent. Everyone in the ninth heaven divine realm knew that Jiang Qin was still alive. Now, calculating the time, it was about time for Jiang Qin to ascend. And now, this lower true god in front of her, coupled with that call of Little Snow, how could Bai Ming-shui not guess Jiang Qin's identity? However, Bai Ming-shui was very calm. Her gaze did not land on Jiang Qin, but looked at those dozen powerhouses in the air. Finally, Bai Ming-shui locked her gaze onto that half-step divine king in the lead. He's a disciple that I just took in, and also an official disciple of my neighboring academy. Bai Ming-shui said softly. I believe everyone knows, right? Any academy's disciples, my academy has the obligation to protect them. When did you take him in? That half-step divine king asked. Just now. Bai Ming-shui raised her brows and said, What's wrong? Is there a problem? The moment these words came out, the entire place fell silent. Everyone could tell that Bai Ming-shui wanted to protect Jiang Qin here. Furthermore, it was protection in the name of neighboring academies. If it were under normal circumstances, no one would have any objections. But now, one had to know that the other party was more than a dozen peak sovereigns, as well as a half-step divine king. With such a terrifying lineup, was it worth it for a neighboring academy to make an enemy out of these people for a mere lower true god? Ninth Elder, this matter is of great importance. You can't decide on your own. The middle-aged man at the side hurriedly said. These are the peak powerhouses of their respective sects. So what? Is it because my neighboring academy can't afford to offend them? Or do they really dare to make a move in the neighboring academy? Bai Ming-shui's face darkened, her eyes burning as she stared at the half-step divine king in the air, saying, Before he graduates, my neighboring academy will be responsible for his life. Hell, what big words! That half-step divine king's voice suddenly turned cold, his gaze sweeping over the surroundings. Then he said loudly, Who in this world dares to stop me, Murong, from killing someone I want to kill? Even the martial god and the radiant sovereign god wouldn't dare to stop me. The moment these words came out, many people were shaken, and they were shocked beyond words. Murong, this was only his surname. The Murong family was an extremely powerful family in the Nine Heavens divine realm. The family's foundation was comparable to the peak sects. And just as this half-step divine king from the Murong family had said, if a half-step divine king from the Murong family wanted to kill someone, how many people in this world would dare to stop him? The most important thing was that this person had only reported his surname, not his full name. From this, it could be seen that in the current Murong family, he had the final say. He could then use the name Murong to proclaim himself to the world. In this way, if they protected Jiang Qin today, it would be equivalent to offending the entire Murong family. Is the Murong family very strong? Bai Ming-shui said softly. Did I forget to introduce myself? As she spoke, Bai Ming-shui tidied up her clothes and ran her fingers through her hair, looking very dignified. After a few breaths, she slowly opened her mouth, her hair gently dancing, giving people a feeling of supremacy. The sun sets over the western mountains, the moon sinks into the North Sea. Bai Ming-shui raised her chin, her snow-white neck was extremely dazzling under the sunlight. The more one looked at her, the more beautiful she was. The sun sets over the western mountains, the moon sinks into the North Sea. At this moment, the expressions of the dozens of strong cultivators in the air changed, especially the half-stepped divine king from the Murong family. Fear appeared in his eyes. "You're from the Baiming family?" Murong asked. "Not really, I've been expelled," Baiming Shui said truthfully. "Oh. You've been expelled and you're still using the name of the Baiming family. Aren't you looking for death?" "I've heard of the Baiming family. They're very strong. They're strong enough to fight against the Murong family. But since she's been expelled, that means she's not a member of the Baiming family. Why is she using the name of the Baiming family now? Could it be that the half-stepped divine king from the Murong family is afraid of her?" Many people were puzzled. Since she was expelled, why did she still use the name of the Baiming family? However, the half-stepped divine king from the Murong family did not think so. The Murong family and the Baiming family, as the top families in the ninth heaven, naturally had some understanding of each other's family matters. As far as he knew, the Baiming family had expelled a woman a long time ago. However, that woman, even if she was expelled, not many people would dare to touch her, because she was. Chapter 858. More than 3,000 years ago, the Baiming family had experienced an internal turmoil. During that turmoil, the upper echelons of the Baiming family had undergone a great change of blood. The previous direct line of descent had been removed and the Baiming family was now under the control of another direct line of descent. However, according to what the Murong family knew, there was still a woman from the removed line of descent who was still alive. Not only was she still alive, but she was also under the protection of the Baiming family. However, because they were from two different lines of descent, the Baiming family could not openly protect her. However, if she was willing to speak, the Baiming family would do everything in their power to help her. As for why, this was an internal matter of the Baiming family. Murong was now beginning to suspect that this woman before him could very well be the woman who had been expelled from the Baiming family. Otherwise, how could a mere woman have the guts and power to challenge a half-stepped godly king of the Murong family? If she were an ordinary member of the Baiming family, I wouldn't have to give her any face and I wouldn't have to be afraid of anything, Murong thought to himself. However, this woman before him had actually claimed that she had been exiled from the Baiming family. Hence, there must be something fishy about this. "May I ask, are you still considered a member of the Baiming family?" Murong asked tentatively. "I don't think I am," Baiming Shui replied. "However, the current line of descent in the Baiming family sees me as a member of the Baiming family." "Oh, that's right. According to their words, I belong to the Baiming family's legitimate bloodline and I will inherit the Baiming family in the future," Baiming Shui said. Murong's face fell when he heard this. Although he had already guessed this, he still could not accept it when he heard Baiming Shui say it herself. This was because Baiming Shui was the one who had been exiled. Although she had been exiled, in reality, she was still a member of the Baiming family. Strictly speaking, her words were more effective than the Baiming family's patriarch. "How unlucky!" Murong cursed silently. He never thought that he would run into Baiming Shui here. What angered him the most was that this damned brat before him was only a lower-level true god. Where had he gotten to know so many powerful cultivators with status and power? "Is everything all right now?" Baiming Shui asked. "Fellow Taoists, perhaps you still don't know what he has done? Today, since you have stepped forward to protect him in the name of the Baiming clan and the neighboring academy, there are some things that we can't force. However, shouldn't you at least talk some sense into him?" Murong said in a low voice. "Oh? Tell me," Baiming Shui whispered. At the same time, she glanced at Jiangqin. She was also puzzled. They had not seen each other for 3,000 years. Where had deity King Tianqin gone? It was one thing for him to reincarnate, but why did he cause trouble right after he ascended? Was he really not afraid of his identity being exposed? Or was he born to be a troublemaker? The first time he entered the Void God world, he killed the Supreme Sect's disciples. Let's not talk about this for now, it is not important. The second time, he stole the light-blessed land. As for the last few times, I might scare you if I tell you. Murong frowned, but he still said it. He stared at Jiangchen and said, Although you won first place in the Great Heaven Conference, you offended the Divine Emperor's clan and killed the Divine Emperor's successor. After that, you moved away 3 blessed lands at once. It's equivalent to offending 3 top sects at the same time. As far as I know, there is a bounty on him now. Bai Ming-shui had been listening silently. Her eyes drifted to Jiangchen from time to time, and her head hurt even more. She also did not expect that Jiangchen actually caused such big trouble. He is young after all, and is a disciple of the academy adjacent to mine. This matter has to be considered at length. Bai Ming-shui said. Who doesn't make some mistakes when they are young? This is called making a mistake? This is a monstrous mistake. We don't care about killing that supreme sect's disciple. Stealing the light-blessed land of the Light Clan, we also don't care. Even if he killed the Divine Emperor's successor, it has nothing to do with us. But if we can spare him today, he has to hand over the Haotian stone, right? Take it as the price. A few top chief gods said. Actually, in their eyes, the life of a lower true god like Jiangchen was really worthless. In fact, even those blessed lands, and even the traces of Luo Shu and the rest were worthless. The main purpose of their visit this time was the Haotian stone. That's his own. If he doesn't want to hand it over, I can't force him to. Bai Ming-shui shook her head helplessly and said, Do you have any other thoughts? You mean, if we don't give an explanation today, this matter will end just like that? A chief god said coldly. A woman wants to support him here. Are you qualified? Bai Ming-shui chuckled. She looked at Murong and said, You can ask him. See if I'm qualified. Shut up! Murong heard and glared at that chief god. Then, she squeezed out a smile and looked at Bai Ming-shui. She said, We are here today to reason things out. Fellow cultivator Bai Ming, can you at least give us an explanation? Sure. Bai Ming-shui seemed to have thought it through. She said, You can't bully the weak. You can do anything else. That's it. That's it. At this moment, it wasn't just the 10-odd experts who were confused, even Jiangchen was confused. You can't bully the weak? That's it. Big sister. I'm here today to seek refuge with you. You should at least give me some benefits and shelter. Then what do you mean, fellow cultivator Bai Ming? Murong asked. I've heard about what happened in the Void God realm. According to landscape painter Luo Shu, people 2 realms higher than him are not allowed to attack him. That's all, Bai Ming-shui said. Oh, that's fine. Murong nodded with a smile. After saying that, Murong didn't say another word and turned around to leave. The other chief gods saw that the strongest person had left, so they naturally didn't stay. However, they were very confused. Were they just going to let it go? With their lineup, it was more than enough to destroy a top sect. Today, they were going to return in defeat because of a woman? Brother Murong, are we going to leave just like that? One of the chief gods asked on the way back. What else can we do? Bai Ming-shui is there. She's obviously protecting silly girl, Murong said in a low voice. Let's just agree to her conditions first. Then, we're just going to let it go? Someone asked, unwilling to give up. Silly girl is in the neighboring academy, so we naturally can't attack her. But what if she leaves the neighboring academy? Murong raised his eyebrows. When the time comes, don't bother about those rules. You can't bully the weak as the strong. It's all nonsense. Can't we act first and report later? When he's dead, the Bai Ming clan and the neighboring academy won't go to war with us over a dead person. Murong mocked. Just wait, he can't stay in the neighboring academy forever. Chapter 859. This group of people was led by the Murong clan and was mixed with many sects and factions. However, they did not dare to be too presumptuous at this moment. After all, the status of the academy was special. Unless there was no other choice, there was no need to fall out with an academy. Moreover, it was not just one neighboring academy. Even the Baiming clan was involved. However, this matter would not end here. The sects and factions led by the Murong clan would not let this matter rest. Of course, to them, Jiang Chen's life was not important. The cave abode that Jiang Chen moved away was not theirs. The reason why they wanted to take action was because of the Haotian stone. At this moment, on one of the 9 peaks at the back of the mountain adjacent to the academy, on the 9th peak, Baiming Shui smiled at Jiang Chen. She had been looking at him like this for half an incense stick's time. Jiang Chen felt uncomfortable from being stared at. He straightened his face and said, "Little Shui Shui, what are you looking at? I think you're very cute." Baiming Shui said jokingly, "Divine King Tianqin, who once dominated the 9 heavens, has now become a young man. I was young in the past too," Jiang Chen said snappily. "If you were young in the past, then what are you now? A large baby?" Baiming Shui blinked her beautiful eyes and said with a smile, "Why did you think of me?" "Sigh. I was forced." Jiang Chen sighed and said with a bitter smile, "Now, the only one who can protect me is you. To think that you still remember me," Baiming Shui muttered. There was an indescribable bitterness in her words. Of course, Jiang Chen could tell, but he pretended not to know anything. He looked into the distance and asked, "How have you been these years?" "Still the same," Baiming Shui said softly. She stroked the hair by her ear and said, "Still the same as before. I have nothing to do all day long and no one to talk to. Why don't you go back?" Jiang Chen asked. Jiang Chen knew Baiming Shui's identity. As long as she was willing to return to the Baiming clan, she could immediately become the head of the Baiming clan. However, he didn't know what this lass was thinking. She didn't want to be the patriarch of the Baiming clan and insisted on coming to the neighboring academy to be the 9th elder. "You know what happened between me and the Baiming clan. I don't want to go back for the rest of my life," Baiming Shui said in a deep voice. Jiang Chen smiled awkwardly, knowing that he had hit Baiming Shui's sore spot. He waved his hand and said, "Let's talk about something else." "Oh? What is it? Are you talking about your lousy love affairs?" Baiming Shui teased. "Back then, so many goddesses were mesmerized by you and wanted to enter your harem, but why didn't you take any of them?" "Am I that kind of person?" Jiang Chen said angrily. However, when he said this, Jiang Chen's heart clenched. Only because, in this 9 heavens divine world, there was someone he liked. The two of them had agreed that when Jiang Chen succeeded in splitting open the sky, they would become Tao companions and announce it to the world. However, who knew that Jiang Chen would be surrounded and ambushed, and that person also sacrificed herself to protect Jiang Chen's reincarnation. "The moon goddess is dead," Baiming Shui sighed. She knew the relationship between Jiang Chen and the moon goddess. However, people died like yellow flowers. When they withered, they would no longer be there. She was also reborn, but her memory doesn't seem to have awakened. Jiang Chen frowned. "I saw her in the lower realm. She's called Jiang Yueli now." "Oh? This can't be?" Baiming Shui was stunned and even more confused. Back then, she was very clear that the moon goddess sacrificed herself to protect Jiang Chen's rebirth. After the sacrifice, her soul would be scattered. How could she be reincarnated? "It's true. I did see it," Jiang Chen said seriously. "And the lower realm is not simple." "Lower realm? That place has never been simple." Baiming Shui nodded. The so-called lower realm was the godless continent. In the 9 heavens divine world, many old monsters knew that there were hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the lower realm. Even the strongest foundation of the sky-reaching church was in the lower realm. And the most guessing thing was whether there were existences beyond the God-King level in the lower realm. Or even monsters beyond the God-King level. "Have you heard of the Empress? And the human sovereign, Taoist heaven span, Jiu Yuan, have you heard of these people?" Jiang Chen suddenly asked. "Empress? I've heard of this." Baiming Shui's expression changed and said, "Are you related to her? If you are, I advise you to cut off all ties with her." Otherwise, even I can't protect you at that time. What's going on? Jiang Chen asked hurriedly. The Empress is a reincarnation stowaway, and now she's being hunted by a mysterious force, Bai Mingshui said in a deep voice. That force calls itself the Reincarnation Palace, and they specialize in killing reincarnation stowaways. When Jiang Chen heard this, his expression changed again and again, and his heart tightened even more. This was because when he was in the lower realm, he had also heard of this matter. Moreover, according to Jiang Chen's guess, he was also a reincarnation stowaway. And he had been a reincarnation stowaway for several generations. The Empress is very powerful. Not long after she ascended, she was tracked down by the people of the Reincarnation Palace. She killed all the way and finally disappeared in the forbidden land of East Sea. No one knows whether she's dead or alive, Bai Mingshui said. In the end, the Reincarnation Palace seemed to be angry and announced to the world that they would track down all reincarnation stowaways and kill them without mercy. The forbidden land of East Sea? Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. The eldest senior brother of the Sky-Reaching Church, who he had never seen before, seemed to be hunted down by the owner of a forbidden land and escaped into the forbidden land of East Sea. Now, he heard that the Empress had escaped into the forbidden land of East Sea. Could it be that the forbidden land of East Sea is not ordinary? Is it a refuge? Sect leader seems to have gone to the forbidden land of East Sea, Jiang Chen said to himself. Jiang Chen had been to the forbidden land of East Sea when he was Tianqin Divine King, but he didn't find anything special. However, now that he thought about it, perhaps what he saw was just the surface. By the way, the 9 depths you mentioned before. I have also heard of it. Bai Mingshui frowned, as if she was trying hard to recall. After a dozen breaths, she suddenly stared at Jiang Chen and asked, The 9 depths you mentioned can't be the one in the Bloody Path, right? Oh? You also know about the Bloody Path? Jiang Chen was stunned. The Bloody Path was a road of experience in the Godless Continent, but it was also a cage. The great turmoil in the Godless Continent originated from the rebellious families in the Bloody Path, but they were all suppressed by Jiang Chen in the end. Many people know about the Bloody Path in the Godless Continent, Bai Mingshui said. I mean, how do you know that there is a person called 9 Depths in the Bloody Path? Jiang Chen asked. I seem to have read it in an ancient book, Bloody Path 9 Depths, Bloody Calamity 9 Heavens. Bai Mingshui was not sure, but she told Jiang Chen that if it was really that 9 depths, then this matter was very important. According to the ancient records, 9 depths was a prehistoric bigwig-level figure. At that time, he killed the entire 9 heavens divine world until blood flowed like a river. Chapter 860. Zhou Yuan. Jiang Chen didn't have much contact with him, but in his heart, he thought that he was a good person. At least, in the great turmoil of the Godless Continent, Zhou Yuan came out of the bloody road and delayed for a long time for the world's creatures. But now, hearing Bai Mingshui's words, Jiang Chen was not sure. How could a big shot who could kill the 9 heavens divine world until blood flowed like a river and bones were everywhere be a good person? Maybe it's because of some things. Sometimes killing is not evil, Jiang Chen said. Maybe. Bai Mingshui nodded. He had only seen some stories about Zhou Yuan in ancient books. As for the specifics, no one could say for sure. Perhaps, only the oldest living creatures of the 9 heavens divine world knew the secret. There is a rumor that the massacre of Zhou Yuan was related to the boundless world outside the southern wall. Bai Mingshui frowned. Do you know about the southern wall? There are many worlds outside, collectively known as the boundless world. I've heard of it. Jiang Chen nodded calmly. He would not tell Bai Mingshui that he had the fragments of the southern wall in his hands, and even more than one. Okay, let's not talk about this. What are your plans for the future? Bai Mingshui asked. Now I'm staying here, cultivating and contacting my former friends, Jiang Chen said. Speaking of this, Jiang Chen's eyes flashed with a sneaky light, looked at Bai Mingshui with a smile, and said softly, Little Shui, I am now a disciple of the neighboring college. So? Bai Mingxue tilted his head, pretending not to know, but in fact he knew. Back then, before Jiangchen fell, he came to the neighboring college several times. At that time, Jiangchen planned to come to the neighboring college to cultivate the supreme Dao skill, Tianya adjacent. That was the world's top Dao skill, and it was complete. It was said that it involved the power of space. It was a pity that the neighboring college had rules. Tianya adjacent could not be taught to outsiders, only the disciples of the neighboring college could cultivate. Moreover, only those who would inherit the position of the dean of the neighboring college in the future were qualified to cultivate. Therefore, even though Jiangchen was a god monarch, the adjacent academy didn't hand over the Horizon Adjacent Academy to Jiangchen. Jiangchen had come several times at that time, but he had always returned resentfully. "Can you lend me your book?" Jiangchen said shamelessly. In front of his own people, he was never shameless and never pretended. "If I could get it, I would have started cultivating long ago," Bai Mingxue snapped. "You know the rules. Unless you're qualified to inherit the position of dean of the neighboring academy, you're not qualified to cultivate. Little Snow, you must have a way." Jiangchen chuckled and said, "You're the 9th elder of the neighboring academy. You have a high position and power, and now you live in the academy's 9th peak. The 9th summit. That's a place where only the highest echelons of the academy can stay. The people living on the 8 mountain peaks next door were also elders, right? The one who lives on the mountain peak in the middle is the dean, right? Why don't you discuss it with them?" Jiangchen said smugly, his saliva flying everywhere, and the gleam in his eyes became brighter and brighter. Bai Mingxue frowned when she heard that, looking very troubled. She was silent for a moment, as if she was thinking. After a dozen breaths, Bai Mingxue said, "If the dean knows your identity, he might agree to let you cultivate in the Horizon Adjacent Academy. This isn't appropriate, right?" Jiangchen's face darkened and said, "If my identity is leaked, I'll lose my life. At that time, even the neighboring academy can't protect me, right?" One had to know that once Jiangchen's identity was leaked, not to mention the neighboring academy, even the other academies combined wouldn't be able to protect him. If his identity was leaked, the enemies Jiangchen would have to face were the strongest 36 lords of the 9 heavens divine realm. Moreover, there were probably many half-step divine kings among those 36 overgods. With all these people working together, who could stop them? Then there's no other way. Bai Mingxue smiled bitterly and said, "Unless you become the holy son of the neighboring academy, then there might be hope." "Holy son? Maybe I can give it a try." Jiangchen's eyes lit up. Once he became the holy son of the neighboring academy, it meant that he had hopes of inheriting the position of dean of the neighboring academy in the future. In this way, he would indeed have the qualifications to cultivate in the Horizon Adjacent Academy. "Is it that as long as I defeat the current holy son, I can become the holy son?" Jiangchen asked. "In theory." Bai Mingxue nodded and said, "But you have to know that there is more than one holy son. Every realm will choose a holy son and compare them with each other." Bai Mingxue said, "True God realm, celestial God realm, profound God realm, supreme God realm, and even title God realm, there are holy sons. Then wouldn't it be fine if I challenge them one by one?" Jiangchen smiled and said, "It's very simple." You can give it a try." Bai Mingxue's expression was strange. She glanced at Jiangchen and could not help but ask, "You've been ascending for a long time, right? Why are you still a lower true god? Don't judge me with the eyes of an ordinary person. With my current strength, I can even suppress a profound god," Jiangchen said seriously. Then Jiangchen stood up and patted Bai Mingxue's shoulder and said, "Then I'll be your personal disciple in the adjacent academy. This way, I'll have a status. Up to you. Just don't cause me big trouble." Bai Mingxue said indifferently, "I can handle ordinary things for you." "Okay." Jiangchen smiled and said. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiangchen flew up into the sky and flew out of the 9th peak. Bai Mingxue looked at Jiangchen's back as he left. How could she not know what he was going to do? Someone is going to suffer. Bai Mingshui said to herself and silently prayed for those holy sons. Not long after, at the adjacent academy square, Jiangchen landed there and asked a young man beside him with a smile. Brother, do you know who the true God Realm Holy Son is? Where is he? Why are you looking for him? The young man was stunned. He sized up Jiangchen and then said, You're going to challenge him? Smart! Jiangchen smiled and said, Tell me where he is. You! Lower true God? The young man looked at him with disdain and said, He's an upper true God and also a holy son. You can imagine how strong his talent is, and his combat strength is not weak. Since he was a true God Realm Holy Son, anyone who challenged him was suppressed by him with one palm. No one succeeded in challenging him. Jiangchen heard this and waved his hand. He was a little impatient and said, Just tell me where he is. Well, isn't that him? The young man pursed his lips and thought of a young man who was practicing a divine skill in the middle of the square. Jiangchen turned around. When he saw the young man, his expression became strange. After a few breaths, even his expression became colorful. Chapter 861. Jiangchen never dreamed that he would meet him here. That youth's appearance was exactly the same as Nian Chang'e. There was no difference at all. But Jiangchen knew that that person was not Nian Chang'e. Nian Chang'e's physical body. Jiangchen's expression was very rich. Pointing at the other party, he asked the person beside him, Are you sure it's him? Yeah, it's him, Nian Chang'e, a very strange name, but his strength is very strong. This youth said. But it's very strange. He has also cultivated for a long time, but he has been staying at the true God realm. I also don't know what's going on. Maybe he wants to dominate the position of true God realm Holy Son. After all, becoming a Holy Son, the cultivation resources are too abundant. Oh, Jiangchen said softly, then smiled mockingly and said, From today onwards, he's not the Holy Son of true God realm anymore. What? This youth was dumbfounded, but saw that Jiangchen was already walking toward Nian Chang'e. Nian Chang'e seemed to have sensed it, and raised his head to look. When he saw Jiangchen, a hint of doubt could not help flashing across his eyes. To him, Jiangchen looked very familiar, giving him a very familiar feeling. But his physical body was psychic and did not have the main body's memories. Therefore, he did not know who Jiangchen was. In fact, he did not even know that his physical body was psychic and always thought that he was a complete life form. The main body's memories are gone, but you still remember your true name. Jiangchen walked in front and said jokingly, Long time no see. When I woke up, it was this name. Nian Chang'e said, frowning and saying in puzzlement, There's a feeling of déjà vu, more than just déjà vu. Jiangchen muttered, Back then, you only cared about your own ascension and caused Nian Chang'e to be in trouble. When Nian Chang'e's physical body ascended, it really happened to be when the godless continent was in turmoil. In the end, this physical body did not care about anything and ascended on its own. At that time, it made Jiangchen and Nian Chang'e explode in anger. If Nian Chang'e could fuse with his corporeal body back then, he would have long recovered to his peak. That great chaos could be suppressed with a raise of his hand. I don't want to talk nonsense with you anymore. Fight? If you win, you can continue to be the Holy Son. If you lose, let me be the Holy Son, Jiangchen said directly. He didn't have a good impression of Nian Chang'e's physical body. You are not my opponent, Nian Chang'e said softly, shaking his head. I am invincible in the true God realm. Invincible my ass! Jiangchen directly cursed. He himself didn't even call himself invincible in the true God realm, and a guy with a spiritual body also dared to be so arrogant. What I said is true, Nian Chang'e said very seriously. Under the God of heaven, I am invincible. Oh? Below the heavenly God realm? Jiangchen mockingly smiled and pointed at the battle ring not far away. All right then. Show me what it means to be undefeatable under the immortal realm. After he finished speaking, Jiangchen took a step forward. Like a swan swooping by, he stood on the ring in an instant. And as the Holy Sun, Chang and Chang'e naturally couldn't be afraid of fighting. He also flashed and instantly arrived on the battle ring. Someone is challenging the Holy Sun Chang'e again. This person probably doesn't know that the Holy Sun Chang'e is extremely strong. Even the God of Heaven isn't his opponent. I remember now. Isn't this guy the disciple that Elder Biming just accepted? It's that silly guy from the Void God realm. For a time, more and more people gathered in the square, surrounding the battle ring one after another. Some people recounted Jiang Chen's strength, talking about Jiang Chen's glorious deeds in the Void God realm. However, some people were not convinced. They thought that if Chang'e entered the Void God realm, Jiang Chen wouldn't have a share. For a time, the disciples of the neighboring academies were divided into two factions. Some supported Jiang Chen, and some supported Chang'e. At this moment, Jiang Chen looked very relaxed. He stood on the battle ring, narrowed his eyes, and said softly, "You go first. You go first. As the Holy Sun, I should know how to be humble." Chang'e said. "Oh? Really?" Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows and said jokingly, "Then, you'd better be prepared. I'll take one of your moves with my bare hands." Chang'e was very confident. After all, his combat strength was extraordinary. However, today, Jiang Chen wanted to teach Chang'e a lesson. How could he go easy on him? It would be good if he didn't kill Chang'e. At this moment, light appeared on Jiang Chen's body. The illusory image of a dragon and tiger appeared, and vines stretched out from his back. Clusters of inextinguishable fire burned. The immortal bird Tao's soul appeared with a long cry and stopped on the vines. Then, Jiang Chen formed a fist seal. The power of the dragon and tiger pressed forward like a mountain and a river, giving people a suffocating feeling. His spine turned into a dragon, and his ribs were like a tiger. A rose bloomed, and a fist radiance struck out at this moment. Boom! Like a shooting star in the dark night, it lit up everything in an instant and cut through the darkness. With one punch, it seemed to sweep away everything and suppress everything. "Remember what you said. Take one of my moves with your bare hands." Jiang Chen chuckled. After this punch, there was no follow-up action. At this moment, Chang'e's eyes narrowed, and his aura erupted. It was extremely powerful. Jiang Chen made a rough estimation. With Chang'e's aura, he could indeed compete with a higher heavenly god. However, compared to him, he was far inferior. "Compared to the main body, you're really weak," Jiang Chen said contemptuously. Boom! At this moment, an explosion sounded. Chang'e pushed out his palm, and two rays of light, one black and one white, appeared in his palm. The two rays of light were like two carps. Under the reversal of the flow, they actually disintegrated Jiang Chen's fist seal. "What the F***CK? At this moment, Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. Although he didn't use his full strength in that punch, ordinary heavenly gods couldn't take it at all. Even a lower profound god couldn't take this punch. But now, Chang'e really took it with his bare hands. "I said before, I'm invincible below the heavenly god level." Chang'e raised his eyebrows and said with some arrogance, "Next, it's my turn to attack. Does your family fight one person one move at a time? Turn-based?" Jiang Chen said unhappily. When his voice fell, he rushed out like a phantom. This time, Chang'e didn't hesitate. Black and white light appeared on his body, and there seemed to be two black and white carps swimming behind him, vaguely turning into a yin-yang Tai Chi diagram. Holy Sun Chang'e is too fierce. He has comprehended the power of yin and yang. This is one of the top forces in the world. It's not without reason that he can be the Holy Sun. However, just as everyone was praising, they saw Chang'e's body fly out like a kite with a broken string, and finally fall out of the arena. Someone witnessed all this. They saw with their own eyes that Jiang Chen's body suddenly bloomed with multicolored light. Then, with a slap, he sent Chang'e flying. Simple and violent. As expected of a silly boy. Tisk, what's this? You guys haven't seen his battle in the Void God realm. That's called valiant. Especially when he hit Jiutian's, but it's really awe-inspiring. Chapter 862. Jiang Chen's glorious deeds were shaken out one by one. He himself did not feel anything, but the people who listened were indeed endlessly impressed, even fanatical. Killing the Grand Sect's disciples, deceiving the Son of Heaven, Chenjulu, and Zhu Ming, 3 people, and beating up the 9 heavens. After that, winning the vast heaven summit, killing the divine emperor's successor, and moving away 3 blessed lands. This kind of deed could be called heroic. Ordinary people really did not dare to do so. Especially that matter of beating the 9 heavens' buttocks. It was described vividly by people, making everyone have a feeling of being there personally. However, the surrounding voices disappeared very soon. Everyone reacted. Something big had happened now. Chang'e being defeated by Jiang Chen was tantamount to losing the identity of a holy son. Then, according to the rules, Jiang Chen was now the true God realm holy son of the adjacent academy. Of course, it still needed to go through the elder's announcement and confirm it, but that was also a matter of time. At this moment, Jiang Chen looked at Chang'e below the arena with a smile and said, "Just this bit of strength. Still dare to claim that you're invincible below celestial deity? What method did you use?" Chang'e's expression was ugly, his confidence shattered. He comprehended yin and yang dual qi, and even consolidated his cultivation at the true God realm. His combat power was comparable to an upper celestial deity. He could not understand why this familiar youth in front of him was actually stronger than him. Especially a moment ago, when Jiang Chen's palm strike had struck him, the tiger's roar and the dragon's roar had almost extinguished his holy soul. "What method?" "Of course, it's a true God realm method," Jiang Chen said with a smile, a hint of contempt flashing across his eyes, and said, "It's not the main body after all. Compared to Nian Chang'e, you're far inferior." "Nian Chang'e?" Chang'e frowned, his mind suddenly palpitating. He did not know that he was actually transformed from Nian Chang'e's physical body after gaining sentience. But out of instinct, after hearing Nian Chang'e these 3 words, his mind palpitated, having an indescribable feeling. Like debt, guilt, and even some longing. This kind of emotion and feeling was very strange, making Chang'e fall silent all at once. After a long time, he slowly raised his head. His eyes shone brightly as he said, "The position of saint is yours for the time being. You don't have to say it, it should be mine now." Jiang Chen said softly, waved his hand and said, "Hurry up and cultivate, don't go around making a fool of yourself. I'm a disgrace." Chang'e's face was gloomy. In the entire neighboring academy, among the true God realm disciples, who was his match? Even in the heavenly God realm, only a heavenly God realm holy son could suppress him. With this kind of strength, he was still embarrassing himself. "You're invincible below the heavenly God level? Heh! Then let me tell you something. I'm invincible beneath Her Eminence." Jiang Chen raised his head, ignoring everyone's looks of disbelief, and said bluntly, "Go and call the celestial deity realm holy son over." "What? Is he going to challenge the holy sons of the various realms one after another?" Everyone was shocked. What was Jiang Chen trying to do? He had just arrived at the neighboring academy, and he was already causing a huge commotion. Very normal. The commotion he caused in the void god realm was even greater. It can be said to have pierced through the sky. Someone was very calm, just because they had all witnessed those things about Jiang Chen with their own eyes. "You're very strong, but being overconfident is conceit," Chang'e said in a cold voice. "Under arrogance, you'll definitely lose." "Arrogance?" The corners of Jiang Chen's mouth curled up slightly, revealing a hint of a sinister smile, and said, "I'll be arrogant. You wait and see if I'll lose." Right at this moment, a youth came from the air in the distance. Clouds and mist rose around him, as if he was draped in a layer of battle clothes. The person had yet to arrive, and a horrifying aura already descended. "Who wants to challenge me?" Hearing this, Everyone knew that the newcomer was precisely the heavenly god realm holy son of the neighboring academy. He should have gotten the news, so he rushed over to clear his name. However, when he arrived at the plaza, when he saw Jiang Chen standing on the platform, his face immediately darkened. He asked a youth beside him weakly, "It's him who wants to challenge me?" "Right. It's this lower true god who's very arrogant. He just defeated Holy Sun Chang'e." The person beside him was very unhappy and said, "Holy Sun, you go and teach him a lesson. This kid is too arrogant." "I go and teach him a lesson?" The heavenly god realm Holy Sun's face turned even darker, and he muttered, "Void god realm's famous culprit, silly boy, I go and teach him a lesson? Hey! You're the heavenly god realm Holy Sun, right? Come on, stop talking nonsense, come up and fight." Jiang Chen looked at that youth, speaking very straightforwardly. However, what the crowd didn't expect was that the youngster's face beamed from ear to ear when he heard Jiang Chen's words. He even cupped his hands at Jiang Chen and spoke humbly. "Taoist friend, I am aware of your power. So, I don't think we need to exchange pointers. If what you want is the title of Heavenly God Realm Holy Sun, I'll give it to you. I'll directly admit defeat in front of everyone here, okay?" Hearing this, Jiang Chen was also stunned for a moment. He did not know that during the vast Heavens Summit previously, this youth was also present, personally witnessing the scene of Jiang Chen overpowering the Divine Emperor's successor. Now, making him fight with Jiang Chen, was there still a need to fight? "All right, admitting defeat is also fine," Jiang Chen said softly, then immediately asked, "Then, call the profound God Realm Holy Sun over." "I'm right here." Jiang Chen's voice had just faded when he saw a youth holding a 7-foot-long spear jump onto the stage. Such a major incident happened in the plaza, it had long alarmed quite a few people, and this profound God Realm Holy Sun was already here long ago. At this moment, after hearing Jiang Chen's words, he directly rushed onto the stage. His meaning was very clear, he wanted to fight with Jiang Chen. "You're rather straightforward," Jiang Chen said mockingly. "Just like the heavenly God Realm Holy Sun, how good would it be to directly admit defeat? Why come up and take a beating? You're underestimating me?" The profound God Realm Holy Sun's face was ice cold, the 7-foot-long spear in his hand pointed at Jiang Chen from afar, and said coldly, "This seed has debuted for many years, and I've never met someone as arrogant as you. Then you've met me today, and for a very long time, you'll keep meeting me," Jiang Chen said with a smile. Boom! His voice had just faded when everyone saw Jiang Chen's fists rush out in reverse with both fists. A ray of fist light transformed into a dragon's body, like a river of stars descending, constantly suppressing an area. The other ray of fist light was like a tiger. Under its roar, the entire stage was shaking, as if a tiger's roar was going to shake down the stars in the sky. Bang! Bang! In the next moment, everyone only heard two muffled sounds. Following that, they saw that profound God Realm Holy Sun was blasted flying out, finally falling off the stage. He had a dumbfounded look, the 7-foot-long spear in his hand was broken. "I've lost?" he asked himself. He had yet to react, and he was already defeated. This wasn't appropriate, right? "Senior brother, you should be like me and admit defeat directly." The heavenly God Realm Holy Sun helped the youth up and comforted him. "It's fine, losing to him is very normal. He's a monster, a monster." Chapter 863. The Divine Realm Holy Sun had been comforting the mysterious God Realm Holy Sun. The two of them were speechless and helpless. Since they could be holy sons of a certain realm, it meant that they were very strong. In the neighboring colleges, they were definitely the top in their respective realms. But now, they had lost to Jiang Chen, a lesser true god. It was not that they were weak, but that Jiang Chen was too strong. "The only true god!" someone shouted. This title would probably accompany Jiang Chen for a long time. "Then I am now one of the 3 holy sons?" Jiang Chen whispered. With this identity, It should not be a problem to read and comprehend the horizon's neighbor, right? You! Come here! At this moment, in the neighboring college, a rather majestic voice came from the 8th peak. Oh? 8th Elder? Jiangchen blinked. He did not know the 8th Elder at all. Why was he suddenly calling him over? However, now that he was a disciple of the neighboring college, and the 8th Elder had spoken, Jiangchen naturally had to go over obediently. After all, for a long time in the future, Jiangchen's safety would depend on the neighboring college. Greetings, 8th Elder. After a few breaths, Jiangchen arrived at the 8th peak and bowed to a middle-aged man. The 8th Elder was very burly and had a square face. He gave off an upright and plain-spoken feeling. And now, he was staring at Jiangchen with a pair of deep eyes. The aura on his body was not calm, and he was looking at the square from the corner of his eyes. Obviously, Jiangchen's consecutive defeat of the 3 holy sons had alarmed the higher-ups of the neighboring colleges. After a moment of silence, the 8th Elder asked in a low voice, "Who exactly are you?" "Me? Elder Bei Ming's disciple," Jiangchen said. "Is there a problem? Other than this identity?" The 8th Elder raised his eyebrows. "With your combat strength and talent, it's impossible for you to be a nobody. You used the name Silly Boy in the Void God realm, but what's your real identity?" Upon hearing this, Jiangchen shrugged helplessly. "True identity? You're still so silly. Don't try to fool me," the 8th Elder said coldly. "Don't think that I don't know where you came from." As soon as these words were spoken, Jiangchen's heart couldn't help but thump. Has my identity been exposed? Or has the heavens-reaching church been exposed? However, before Jiangchen could explain, the 8th Elder suddenly said with a mocking smile, "You and the heavenly smiling God are brothers, right? You two are from the same sect, right?" "This? Yes." Jiangchen nodded. Almost everyone knew about this matter. Back then, at the vast heaven conference in the Void God realm, Luo Shu and the others came and addressed Jiangchen as junior brother in front of everyone. This matter could not be concealed. "Then why didn't you say it directly?" The 8th Elder was puzzled. "Don't you know that the heavenly smiling God and I are sworn brothers?" Upon hearing this, Jiangchen could not help but roll his eyes. He said snappily, "How would I know that you and my senior brother are sworn brothers? You didn't say it before." "Oh, yes, 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 look at me." The 8th Elder patted his head and said with a smile, "If you have any problems in the future, come to me. We're all family. The heavenly smiling God and I are sworn brothers, and you are his junior brother. In this way, you and I are considered to be of the same generation," the 8th Elder said. "Same generation? I'm afraid you're not even qualified to be my grandson's generation," Jiangchen thought to himself. If the 8th Elder knew Jiangchen's identity, would he still dare to say that they were of the same generation? However, at this moment, the 8th Elder's words were undoubtedly a great thing for Jiangchen. The 9th Elder, Bai Mingshui, was firmly on Jiangchen's side. Now that the 8th Elder was on his side, he had one more backer in the adjacent academy. Naturally, the weight of the 8th Elder's identity and words were more important. Thinking of this, Jiangchen asked with a smile, "8th Elder, can I study the horizon adjacent?" Adjacent to the ends of the earth? The 8th Elder was stunned. He seemed to be very confused. After a few breaths, he stared at Jiangchen and asked, "The heavenly smiling God did not teach you the horizon adjacent?" "What?" Jiangchen was stunned. The heavenly smiling God came to the adjacent academy as a disciple and later became the most outstanding holy son, the 8th Elder explained. "According to the agreement, the heavenly smiling God will come and take the position of the dean of the adjacent academy after 1,000 years. So, senior brother has mastered the horizon adjacent?" Jiangchen asked. "Yes." The 8th Elder nodded and said, "He really did not teach you. He really did not," Jiangchen said with a wry smile and was even more furious. If he had known that the heavenly smiling God had mastered the horizon adjacent, he would have just asked him directly. There was no need to waste so much time here. It is understandable that he did not teach you. After all, the horizon adjacent cannot be easily taught to outsiders. The eighth elder said softly, then waved his hand and said, Wait a moment. I will discuss with the other elders. It should not be a big problem. After all, you have consecutively defeated 3 holy sons. Now you are the holy son of the 3 major realms. If the elders are not blind, they should agree. After saying that, the eighth elder waved his hand and motioned Jiangchen to leave first, and wait for him to inform him. With the holy son of the 3 major realms, with my identity, comprehending the horizon adjacent should not be a problem. Jiangchen murmured. At this moment, Jiangchen's ears twitched. He heard shouts coming from the square. Looking into the distance, he saw a group of people in the square. This group of people wore white robes embroidered with some patterns of clouds. On the back of the robes, there was also the word 9 heavens. 9 heavens sect? Jiangchen whispered. Could it be that the 9 heavens sect knew that he had come to the horizon adjacent academy? Were they here to capture him? However, Jiangchen was now a disciple of the horizon adjacent academy, and he had the support of Baiming Shui and the 8th elder. Even the 9 heavens sect could not do anything to him, right? Thinking of this, Jiangchen was also curious and came to the square. As soon as he arrived, he heard a burst of mocking from afar. The horizon adjacent academy is ranked last among the many academies. What is there to be proud of? I think among you holy sons, only the true immortal stage holy son has some strength. The other holy sons are just decorations, useless. Ha ha, the horizon adjacent academy is ranked last every year. I think it is better to disband. Sai, you can't say that. Without the horizon adjacent academy at the bottom, how can it set off the strength of the other academies? Ha! Hearing this, Jiangchen also smiled bitterly. The horizon adjacent academy had not changed. Among the many academies, it had always been in existence at the bottom. Back then, when Jiangchen was still Divine King Tianqin, the horizon adjacent academy was at the bottom. He did not expect that now that 3,000 years had passed, it was still at the bottom. It would be strange if this was not mocked by others. Chapter 864. However, what confused Jiangchen was that the 9 heavens sect was not an academy, so why would they come here to ridicule the neighboring academy? Were they really here to look for him? Alright, enough with the nonsense, we're here to pick people. At this moment, the young man leading the 9 heavens sect had an arrogant look on his face as he said, The 9 heavens sect's 4 gates chess game is about to begin. According to the old rules, we will select some talented people from the various sects and schools to enter the 9 heavens sect to solve the 4 gates chess game. Originally, I didn't want to come to the neighboring academy. After all, the people here are too weak. However, I can't disobey the orders of my sect, so I'll just take it as a visit. What do you mean? How long has the 9 heavens sect been established? What's there to be arrogant about? Compared to the neighboring academy, what is the 9 heavens sect? A disciple from the neighboring academy rebuked. Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, the young man from the 9 heavens sect struck out with his palm, sending the disciple flying. This is the neighboring academy. Not your 9 heavens sect. You dare to make a move here, are you courting death? You're not here to pick people, you're here to cause trouble, right? In an instant, many people shouted angrily. Chang'e, the heavenly God Realm Holy Princes, and profound God Realm Holy Princes took a step forward, standing in front of the 9 heavens sect group. 9 heavens sect, I've long heard of your great name. Today, I'd like to see the strength of your 9 heavens sect disciples. Chang'e said. The heavenly God Realm Holy Prince did not say anything, but his aura surged, as if he was about to attack. As for the profound God Realm Holy Prince, his face was flushed red, as if there was a raging fire burning in his body. He had been holding it in for too long. Previously, he was defeated by Jiangchen in one move, so he had nowhere to vent his anger. Now, a group of 9 heavens sect disciples came to the neighboring academy to cause trouble. How could he hold it in? Neighboring academy, True God Realm Holy Prince Chang and Changa, you don't have to make a move, you can go to the four-gate chess game. The young man leading the group said. We've investigated your strength, you're quite strong. Speaking up to here, the young man looked at the other two holy princes and mocked. As for the two of you, I'm afraid you won't make it. What do you mean by that? The heavenly God Realm Holy Son said coldly. Are you looking down on us? No, 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 it's not disdain, said the young man from the Nine Heavens sect smiling. His eyes turned ice cold as he said. It's disdain. F***ck. I'll beat you to death today. The heavenly deity Realm Holy Son roared furiously. Being looked down upon like this, if he still didn't make a move, his reputation would be gone, his face completely lost. Moreover, the young man leading the Nine Heavens sect was merely a upper heavenly deity, while he was a heavenly deity Realm Holy Son of a neighboring academy. He was confident that he could suppress this Nine Heavens sect youth. Bang! However, in the next moment, a muffled sound suddenly rang out. The Nine Heavens sect disciple sent out a palm strike at an extremely fast speed, just like a flash of lightning. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to react to this speed at all. They wouldn't even be able to see how he attacked. By the time everyone came to their senses, the heavenly God stage Holy Son from the neighboring academy had already been sent flying. He then lay on the ground, unable to get up for a long time. I told you, you can't do it, the Nine Heavens sect youth said with contempt. Although you're a heavenly deity Realm Holy Son, you should know that the environment you're in is like a garbage dump. In a garbage dump, even the most dazzling trash is still trash in the end. After saying this, the youth took a step back and said to the profound God Realm youth beside him, I'll leave this profound God Realm Holy Son of the neighboring academy to you. What's there to fight about? They're all trash. It's just that trash like him is a little more dazzling, that person said with contempt. Trash? You keep saying that we're trash. If I suppress you today, what will you be? The profound God Realm Holy Son from the neighboring academy shouted angrily. Suppress me? You can try. The Nine Heavens sect disciple mocked. Don't say that I didn't warn you. If someone like you was anywhere else, I would have already killed you. If this wasn't a neighboring academy, do you think you're qualified to talk to me? Arrogant! The profound God Realm Holy Son shouted angrily. Then, his aura exploded. His hands formed seals, and runes rose like stars. Then, he waved his hand, and the runes turned into sharp arrows that covered the sky and covered the earth. That's it! The Nine Heavens sect youth raised his eyebrows and waved his hand. A gust of wind whistled out from his sleeves. Violent winds howled like astral winds, carrying clouds and mist with them. This was the Nine Heavens sect's secret technique, Cloud Mist Sleeve. According to legend, this Cloud Mist Sleeve was a simplified version of Heaven and Earth Sleeve, but its power was still terrifying. Boom! Boom! A series of explosions rang out. Wherever the wind passed, the sharp arrows in the sky were shattered. Then, a gust of wind fell, and a cloud covered the sky, directly sending the profound God Realm Holy Son flying 100 meters away. Looks like only Chang and Changa is qualified to participate in our Nine Heavens sect's four-gate chess game. Heh, it's already not bad that there's one person. I thought this trip would be a waste. The disciples of the Nine Heavens sect said. Their words were filled with disdain and mockery. The holy sons of the neighboring academies are really weak. Someone sighed. However, at this moment someone said, the three of them aren't saints. If you have the ability, go challenge the real Holy Son. Oh? The three of them aren't saints? What's the situation? Is my Nine Heavens sect's information wrong? Just as the group of people were puzzled, a slender figure slowly walked over. That's right. The three of them are no longer holy sons. They are now adjacent to the academy. True God Realm, Heavenly God Realm, and Profound God Realm. The Holy Son of the three great realms is me. As the voice fell, the group from Nine Heavens sect finally saw the appearance of the newcomer. At this moment, the group of people were dumbfounded, and some of them even trembled all over. He is… What the hell? Why would I meet him here? Silly girl. At this moment, the group of people from Nine Heaven sect panicked and were completely dumbfounded. What the hell? Was this the so-called enemies' meet on a narrow road? Or was it the arrangement of the heavens? They actually met this fiend here. The Nine Heaven sect is determined to kill me because of what happened to Jiu Tianxia, isn't that right? Jiang Chun was smiling. He seemed gentle and harmless. However, everyone could see that there was a trace of killing intent in the depths of Jiang Chen's eyes. That's between you and the little master. It has nothing to do with us. If you have the ability, go find the little master directly. The group of people from Nine Heavens sect panicked, and their previous arrogant attitude disappeared without a trace. Chapter 865. Prodigy? Monster? Holy Sun? Bullsh *T. In front of Jiangchen, there was nothing to be arrogant about. Even the successor of the Celestial Arch was killed. What were the others in front of Jiangchen? Most importantly, they were disciples of the Nine Heaven sect, and Jiangchen even dared to spank Jiu Tian, let alone them. Thinking of this, the group of people became more and more terrified. Some of them even broke out in cold sweat. They were really afraid of Jiangchen. What were you guys talking about? It doesn't sound like that. Jiangchen rubbed his ears and said, It's true that the neighboring academy is at the bottom of the list. But you said the neighboring academy is a garbage dump. What do you mean? You mean I'm trash too? Jiangchen smirked and said jokingly. Then, why don't you fight with trash like me? Silly fellow cultivator, this is all a misunderstanding. It's definitely a misunderstanding. The group of people from the Nine Heavens sect panicked. If they knew that Jiangchen was in the neighboring academy, they wouldn't have come even if they were beaten to death. Even if they came, they should have just picked a few people to participate in the four-gate chess game. They wouldn't have ridiculed them here. Now, although they had slapped the faces of two holy sons, they had brought this monster out. What should they do now? One had to know that Jiangchen had beaten up Jiu Tian and then spanked Jiu Tian's butt in front of everyone, and the sect leader of the Nine Heavens sect didn't even say anything. In fact, everyone knew that the Nine Heavens sect didn't want to provoke Jiangchen. Not only because of Jiangchen's combat strength, but also because of the people behind him. Luo Shu, Red Caltrip Smiling God, which one of them was weak? In addition, Hong Yi was a monster. If the Nine Heavens sect wanted to touch Jiangchen, they would have to think of the consequences. Now, the group of people was afraid. If Jiangchen killed them here, the Nine Heavens sect might not avenge them. You dared to act so impudently in the neighboring academy? Even though the elders and instructors didn't stand up for you, as a holy son of three realms, shouldn't I step up and do something about it? Is that right? Jiangchen asked. That's right, you're right. The group of people hurriedly nodded. How could they dare to say no? You don't have to apologize, but you have to pay for the medical bills. Jiangchen pointed at the two injured men and said, Look, they were hit too hard. The medical fees… As he spoke, Jiangchen rubbed his fingers and said, You guys decide. After saying this, Jiangchen even walked behind this group of people. His meaning was even more obvious. If you don't pay the medical fees today, you can forget about leaving. This is a superficial wound. One of them widened his eyes. They did injure the two of them, and it seemed to be quite serious. However, this was a neighboring academy after all, so they knew how to control their strength. Although the two of them were covered in blood and were still lying on the ground, they were really superficial wounds. They would recover after 2 or 3 days of rest. Superficial wounds? Then, I'll also give you some superficial wounds, how about that? Jiangchen clenched his fists, looked up and sighed. As a scholar, sometimes I really don't want to fight. What the F***CK? He's going to attack. F***CK. The situation is not good. The group of people from the Jyotian sect was about to explode. Wasn't this daylight robbery? However, when they thought of what Jiangchen had done in the Void God realm, they didn't find it strange. This guy was definitely a habitual offender. It seems to me that those two's injuries are quite severe, and I'm thinking that I need things like the dragon transformation fruit, the bloodline fruit, and the source of the doctrine to heal them. Jiangchen furrowed his brows, and suddenly smiled. He said, I'm an easygoing person. I have a bloodline fruit here, look. One of them immediately took out a bloodline fruit and said, Is it okay? Oh, you're quite sensible. Jiangchen smiled and took the bloodline fruit. He pointed at the gate adjacent to the academy and said, You can go now. Thank you. Thank you. When the person heard this, he didn't care about his senior brothers and junior brothers and ran away immediately. After all, his life was more important. I have a dragon transformation fruit here, Master Silly Boy, look, okay, you can go too. Jiangchen smiled and said. Then, the group took out bloodline fruits and dragon transformation fruits. Jiangchen didn't make things difficult for them and let them go. However, there were still two people that Jiangchen didn't let go. These two people were the two who attacked before. Since you attacked, then the medical expenses should be paid by you. Jiangchen looked at the two with a smile and said, Tell me, how much do you plan to pay? A person can only take one dragon transformation fruit and bloodline fruit in a lifetime. We only have one with us, so it's useless to take more. The arrogant young man was trembling all over. He stretched out his hands and offered a bloodline fruit with trembling hands. However, Jiangchen didn't take it. He stared at the young man and said coldly, A bloodline fruit? Do you think it's enough? When the young man heard this, his body turned cold, and his heart turned cold. Do you have the source of Tao? Jiangchen stared at the young man. His aura gradually erupted, and the illusory image of a dragon and tiger appeared behind him. At the same time, with Jiangchen's feet as the center, runes appeared and spread continuously. A boundary had been raised. What the F***CK? A boundary has been raised. Is he not going to let them go? He set up a boundary in an instant. This silly boy is really powerful. The disciples of the neighboring academies were moved. Not only were they amazed by Jiangchen's methods, but they were also impressed by his courage. They were all thinking, could it be that Jiangchen was really going to start a massacre today? Source of Tao? I'm not qualified to take that thing. The young man was about to cry. The source of Tao was rare and was prepared for the top geniuses in the sect. Although the two of them were extremely strong, they weren't the strongest disciples in the Nine Heavens sect. Therefore, they didn't have the source of Tao. No source of Tao? That's simple. Jiangchen was slightly disappointed and sighed. Hurt others once, hurt yourself 3 times. After saying that, Jiangchen raised his hand. The dragon and tiger roared in his palm and slowly pressed down on the young man. Wait. Although I don't have the source of Tao, I have something similar to it. It's just that the effect is weaker. The young man was really scared, and his eyes were full of panic. Before Jiangchen could speak, he took out a big jar filled with a sparkling and translucent liquid. This is Tao liquid. It's an incomplete source of Tao. Although the effect is not as good as the source of Tao, it's not bad either. The young man hurriedly explained, I really don't have the source of Tao. I only have this Tao liquid. Oh? The effect is similar to the source of Tao. Jiangchen narrowed his eyes and smiled. Look at how scared you are. Can I really do anything to you? That's all for fun. I'm a scholar, a gentleman. I never do anything. Chapter 866. Compared to before, Jiangchen had become much gentler, and could be described as kind. However, he did not remove the barrier. He patted the young man's shoulder and said, Do you have more? A few more jars. The young man went all out. In order to survive, he took out 6 jars at once. After all, These were worldly possessions. Compared to his own life, these Tao liquids were nothing. Jiang Chun was very satisfied. He put away the Tao liquids, then looked at the other person and said with a smile, "What about you? All for you. All for you." The young man was very straightforward. He took out 10 jars of Tao liquids and offered them with both hands. The two of them wiped the cold sweat on their foreheads. At this moment they were silent, but a wisp of hope and pleading flashed in their eyes. They really did not want to die. "What's with the look in your eyes? What's with that expression? Do I look like the kind of person who would kill the innocent?" Jiang Chun was very dissatisfied with their expressions. He then removed the barrier and said, "You can go." "Thank you. Thank you, silly boy." The two of them heaved a sigh of relief. After thanking him, they turned and ran away. There was no longer any arrogance and haughtiness from before. "Thank you, silly boy, for asking for some compensation for us." "Yes, thank you, silly boy." At this moment, the heavenly God Realm Holy Sun and the mysterious God Realm Holy Sun walked over and thanked Jiang Chun. However, what they did not expect was that Jiang Chun only glanced at them and said lightly, "Did I say that these things are for you?" Then Jiang Chun turned around and left with 10 odd jars of doctrine liquid, leaving the crowd with his handsome back and the back of his head. This. The group of people was in a mess. They thought to themselves that he would even cheat his own people. "You all have to get used to it. Silly boy is like this. His behavior and style are completely inconsistent with his name," someone said very seriously. "Who gave him the name Silly Boy with this style of doing things?" Everyone was quite speechless. Was this still called Silly Boy? Just change it to Silly Boy. This Tao liquid, can it be compared to the Tao source? Meanwhile, in Jiang Chen's immortal's cave on the 9th summit, Jiang Chun looked at the dozens of jars of Tao liquid in front of him, and for a moment, he did not dare to consume them. Theoretically speaking, the Tao liquid is a diluted version of the Tao source. Although its effect is not as good as the Tao source, it is still useful, the immortal bird said. Moreover, with so many jars of Tao liquid, it should be comparable to 3 to 5 drops of Tao source. So much. Won't you feel bloated after drinking it? Jiang Chen smiled bitterly. Jiang Chen had already taken a look. These jars appeared to be only the size of a palm, but in truth, they contained Mount Sumeru. Each jar contained at least the size of a small pond. With so many Tao source origins, if he drank them all, wouldn't he die from overeating? If you don't endure hardships, how can you be a man of honor? The undying bird said. All right, hurry up and drink it. Maybe the myriad change heavenly lamp will change. Sigh, that big brother is really difficult to raise. I've used up all my belongings. Jiang Chen let out a long sigh. He did not know if the myriad change heavenly lamp could advance. One had to know that if Jiang Chen had exchanged all his Tao source for dragon transformation fruits and bloodline fruits, his dragon bloodline might have already advanced to dragon bloodline, and his tiger bones might have changed into several. Now, all his belongings had been exchanged for Tao source and Tao liquid. Don't think about anything else. Let's do it. After a few breaths, Jiang Chen opened a jar of Tao liquid, raised his head, and poured it into his mouth. As a cultivator, there was another universe hidden in his body. Under normal circumstances, as long as Jiang Chen was willing, he could swallow an ocean. However, what surprised him was that after swallowing half a jar of Tao liquid, it was full and could not be swallowed anymore. What's going on? Jiang Chen was dumbfounded. He could swallow an ocean, but now, his body could only swallow half a jar of Tao liquid. Tao liquid contains essence power. Of course, it can't be compared to ordinary water. The undying bird explained. Just as his voice fell, the undying bird Dao Hun suddenly screamed and said, There's a change! Jiang Chen also noticed that the myriad change heavenly lamp's light suddenly soared, and a blurry figure appeared beside it. The lamp bearer. However, there were more impurities in the Tao liquid. There were very few essences that could really let the Tao soul advance. Jiang Chen was still holding it in, and could not drink at all. However, those essences that could let the Tao soul advance had already been absorbed. Continue drinking. Finish it in one go. The undying bird Tao Hun was very excited. He also wanted to see what the number one Tao soul of all times looked like after advancing. I really can't drink anymore. Jiang Chun touched his stomach. It was so round that he felt like he could spit out water when he spoke. However, in order to let the myriad change heavenly lamp advance, Jiang Chun was also going all out. In the next moment, Jiang Chen's face turned red. He picked up the jar again and poured it into his mouth. With this, Jiang Chun felt like he was about to explode. Especially those impurities in the Tao liquid, they were especially bitter and even had a sour smell. That sour feeling was simply indescribable with words. No! If this continues, my physical body will explode, Jiang Chun said in a low voice. He held the jar with one hand and poured the Tao liquid into his mouth. The other hand drew runes and array patterns in front of him, and talismans condensed one after another. After a dozen breaths, a formation was formed. The formation operated, and chains shot out from the formation, stabbing into Jiang Chen's body. Following that, the impurities in the Tao liquid were drawn out. It was pitch black like ink, and it even carried a foul smell. Draw! Jiang Chen formed a seal again. The formation reversed, and the impurities drawn out of his body were directly sent out of the cave abode. Oh my God! What is that? Black river! Blurg! It stinks! Why does it feel like a stinking drain? At that moment, in the neighboring college, many people saw a strange scene. They saw a black river flowing down from the 9th peak, bringing with it a foul smell like gutter water. The foul smell filled the air. In just a dozen breaths, the foul smell enveloped the entire neighboring college. What made people's hair stand on end was that the stinking water flowed directly into the river of the neighboring college. In an instant, the entire river turned black, and all the spiritual fish and spiritual lotuses in it died. What is 9th Elder doing? Someone was puzzled. The 9th peak was where Bai Ming Shui lived. 9th Elder! What are you doing? The spiritual river that breeds spiritual fish and spiritual lotuses is spoiled. 8th Elder, who lived next door, pinched his nose and shouted across the mountain. At the same time, the elders of the other peaks also appeared. Their faces were pale, and they even pinched their noses, not daring to breathe. It was too smelly. How would I know? Bai Ming Shui also walked out of the cave abode. When she saw the smelly water that looked like an upside-down galaxy, her face turned green. Chapter 867. The stench filled the air and filled the entire academy. Even the spirit herbs and spirit trees planted in the academy were affected and were slowly withering. Bai Ming Shui's face was ashen. She looked towards Jiang Chen's cave abode. The gutter-like liquid was flowing out from Jiang Chen's cave abode. What are you doing? Bai Ming Shui was furious. He had just arrived at the neighboring academy, and he was already doing something like this. Did he really think that he could do whatever he wanted in the neighboring academy just because he had her protection? Boom! However, just as Bai Ming Shui was about to enter Jiang Chen's cave abode, a bolt of lightning struck down from the sky above the cave abode. It was as if a broken galaxy had fallen from the sky. If it were not for the protection of the neighboring academy's array, this bolt of lightning would have destroyed the entire 9th summit. What's going on? That looks like a heavenly tribulation? The group was puzzled. Could it be that someone was going through a heavenly tribulation? 9th Elder, are you going through a heavenly tribulation? 8th Elder asked. It's not me. Bai Ming Shui's expression was solemn. She lifted her head and looked at the heavenly tribulation cloud that was gathering in the sky. This was because the heavenly tribulation cloud was a little special. It was not a heavenly tribulation. Normally, heavenly tribulation clouds would carry the aura of the great Tao. However, the heavenly tribulation cloud that was gathering now was filled with an aura of destruction. There was even a strange forbidden power that was surging within the heavenly tribulation cloud. It was like a bolt of lightning that could destroy the world, causing one's heart to palpitate. Is this heavenly tribulation? Heavenly punishment? I don't think so. This is heavenly tribulation. Finally, someone noticed the difference in the heavenly tribulation. With a cry of surprise, all the powerful cultivators at the back of the mountain retreated. Bai Ming-shui did not dare to be careless. Heavenly tribulation was much scarier than heavenly punishment. Since ancient times, heavenly tribulation rarely appeared. Only those who angered the heavens and touched the forbidden things would attract heavenly tribulation's wrath. At this moment, all the elders took action. Arrays and barriers appeared and isolated the ninth summit. This was because heavenly tribulation's wrath was directed at the ninth summit. If they did not isolate the ninth summit, the entire neighboring academy would be destroyed when heavenly tribulation's wrath descended. I'm so full! At that moment, a curse came from the ninth summit. Then, under the crowd's shocked gazes, Jiangqin dashed out of the cave. He could also sense the heavenly tribulation. His entire body was covered in stinking water as he slowly walked out of the immortal's cave, preparing to transcend the tribulation. However, when he looked up and saw heaven's wrath, his face fell. This is the wrath of the heavens! Jiang Chen's eyes widened, and his entire body trembled. Brat! What did you do? The eighth elder said in a deep voice. Do you want to destroy the neighboring academy? Stinking brat! What did you do to incur the wrath of the heavens? You can even attract such a tribulation of heaven's wrath! A group of elders shouted angrily and pinched their noses. They really could not stand the smell. I didn't do anything, Jiangqin said weakly, but he was still very excited. The reason was that after swallowing an entire jar of Tao liquid, the lamp bearer behind the myriad change heavenly lamp had finally revealed himself. Although it was still a little blurry, the lamp bearer's shadow would no longer dissipate. This should be the myriad change heavenly lamp's advancement. However, what Jiangqin did not expect was that the myriad change heavenly lamp's advancement would actually cause such a huge commotion, and even attract the wrath of the heavens. This thing, with my current strength, can I transcend it? Jiangqin asked himself, really not confident in his heart. Because the tribulation of heaven's wrath was rarely seen throughout history, and no one had ever transcended it. This was the tribulation of destruction. Once it fell, everything would be destroyed. But now that things had come to this, Jiangqin could only brace himself and go forward. I hope I can transcend it, Jiangqin thought in his heart as he rose into the air and stood in the air. At the same time, he was constantly adjusting his state. The dragon and tiger shadows appeared behind him, 2 Tao souls floated on both sides of him, and there were even 3 wisps of chaotic aura hidden in the inextinguishable fire. Jiangqin used all of his means and the array formation boundary had already been set up. After a dozen breaths, the tribulation cloud suddenly exploded, and then a bright red palm fell. It was formed by the lightning of destruction, as if it was stained with blood, with a destructive aura, as if it was going to destroy the entire world. Although Bai Ming-shui and the rest were not affected by it, they could also feel the horror of the lightning. This kid is really a jinx! What are you waiting for? Hurry up and strengthen the array formation. If the power of heaven's wrath leaks out, the neighboring colleges will be destroyed. At this moment, in the neighboring colleges, the mentors, elders, and even the dean were anxious. The neighboring colleges could be rebuilt if they were destroyed. However, there were so many disciples in the neighboring colleges. There was no way they could survive the wrath of heaven. I don't know if it was right or wrong to let you enter the neighboring colleges. Bai Ming-shui smiled bitterly and began to strengthen the array formation boundary with the other elders. Boom! At the same time, an explosion could be heard. The blood-red palm made of thunder fell. It shattered all of the tactical formations and wards deployed by Jiangqin in an instant. The red palm did not slow down and slowly fell. With a gentle shake, it directly shook the Emperor's vine back into Jiangqin's body. Little bird! Hold on! Jiang Chen shouted. He clenched his fists, and the shadows of the dragon and tiger roared. Watch me! The undying bird Tao's spirit flapped its wings with a stern expression. The undying flame soared into the sky like an ancient divine bird. However, the immortal flame was shattered when it came into contact with the red palm. Then, with a strange cry, the undying bird Tao's soul was also shaken back into Jiang Chen's body. What the heck? That's so scary! Jiang Chen's face was covered in sweat. He was afraid that he was going to be in trouble this time. The two Tao souls were shaken back into his body. Now, only the three strands of chaotic qi and himself were left. Furthermore, the power contained within the blood-red palm did not weaken at all. I don't believe that heaven's wrath can really kill me. Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed as he stared at the red palm. In the next moment, he waved his hands and punched out one after another. It was as if many bright suns were shooting up into the sky. When they collided with the red palm, they bloomed like the most dazzling fireworks in the world. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful Jiang Chen's punches were, they could not stop the red palm. In just a few breaths' time, the red palm landed on top of Jiang Chen's head. It was only a few feet away from the top of his head. At that moment, Jiang Chen's entire body was trembling. A destructive force enveloped him. His bones were vibrating, his blood was boiling, and his divine soul and spirit were trembling. It was as if everything had been suppressed, and half of his life had already stepped into a land of death. I even opened the sky before. Why would I be afraid of heaven's wrath? Jiang Chen roared in his heart. Although he felt guilty, he knew that the power of heaven's test, heaven's punishment, and heaven's wrath were all related to the cultivator's cultivation level. Therefore, this seemingly deadly heaven's wrath might have a chance of survival. Chapter 868. As everyone knew, all tribulations were related to the cultivator's cultivation. A tribulation from a true God realm cultivator could not exceed the scope of the true God realm. However, there were many types of tribulations. Some were strong, some were weak. But in the end, it would not exceed the critical point of this realm. However, many people in the world would die during the tribulation. The main reason was that their cultivation was flawed. It was not perfect enough, and their foundation was not stable. Therefore, many people would borrow some things when they were going through the tribulation, such as arrays, boundaries, talismans, and weapons. That way, there was hope of surviving the tribulation. But sometimes, even if they used all means, some people would still die in the tribulation. In the end, it was because their foundation was not strong enough. If their foundation was stable and their realm was perfect, they could pass through the tribulation easily no matter how strong it was. All the tribulations in the world are just a test and training from the heavens for cultivators, Jiang Chen said softly. Just like now, heaven's wrath seemed terrifying, but it did not exceed the level of the true God realm. However, ordinary people could not pass heaven's wrath at all. That was because everyone's cultivation would more or less have flaws. I've cultivated to this point and think that my realm is flawless. Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed. He stopped punching and stood proudly in the air. He looked up at the blood-colored palm and said coldly, Why can't I use heaven's wrath to test my Tao fruit? Boom! As soon as he said that, the blood-colored palm pressed down on Jiang Chen's head. At that moment, everyone could only see the blood-colored light drowning everything. It was like a sea of blood that overturned everything. Jiang! Bai Mingshui exclaimed. She wanted to call out Jiang Chen's real name instinctively, but she held it back. However, her heart clenched. After more than 3,000 years of waiting, were they going to be separated by life and death again when they just met? What's going on? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Suddenly, many experts squinted their eyes and saw an unknown flower bud appear in the sea of blood formed by the lightning. The flower bud was crystal clear, like the most perfect thing in the world. Under the sea of blood and thunder, the flower bud gradually bloomed. Time slowly passed, and after a dozen breaths of time, the flower bud completely bloomed. A beautiful rose that would stun anyone who saw it, a rose that would amaze the ages, bloomed. A figure stood proudly in the middle of the flower. Behind him, the illusory image of a dragon and a tiger circled around, and a blurry green lamp floated up and down. Behind the lamp, the emperor's vine and the immortal bird stood quietly as if they had been dormant for a long time and would never move. But the most shocking thing was that behind all of this, there was a blurry shadow. As it stood there, it seemed to have merged with the void, yet it also seemed to be flowing within time and space. The shadowy figure stood straight with one hand behind his back and the other hand holding a green lamp. As for Jiangqin, his face was expressionless as he stood there quietly. After another dozen or so breaths of time, the tribulation clouds dissipated, the blood-red lightning disappeared, and all the phenomena on Jiangqin's body disappeared. Only he stood there proudly with a smile on his face. His figure was like a sturdy ancient tree. "My Tao is perfect and flawless. My cultivation is flawless. My foundation is indestructible," Jiangqin whispered. His previous guesses were right. He had used heaven's wrath to temper his Tao fruit and passed it safely. He passed heaven's wrath? Could it be that he... At that moment, many people thought of a legend. According to legend, when a living being passed heaven's wrath, it would be appeased. From then on, his path would be unimpeded. When heaven's wrath was appeased, it would open a door for him, opening a path to the peak. Supreme Tao fruit! Supreme Tao fruit! A few elders exclaimed softly. They knew what this meant. Jiangqin was still young, but the doctrine fruit he had achieved through his practice had already reached the supreme venerable level. That was a supreme Tao fruit. Every cultivator is different. Based on their cultivation, their strength will be divided into different levels. The average person's Tao fruit belongs to the human Tao fruit, which is the most ordinary Tao fruit. Above that are the earth Tao fruit, heaven Tao fruit, and origin Tao fruit. Reaching origin Tao fruit means that this person is extraordinary and has a chance of becoming a divine king. At this moment, in a corner adjacent to the academy, a white-haired old man explained to a youth beside him. There are millions of cultivators in the world, but those who can cultivate their Tao fruit to the origin Tao fruit level can be counted on one hand. For example, those top overgods have Tao fruits of the origin Tao fruit level. They have a chance of becoming a divine king. Hearing this, the youth beside the old man couldn't help but ask, "Then what about supreme Tao fruit?" Supreme Tao fruit is almost impossible to find. At least in today's environment, very few people can achieve this. However, as long as one cultivates their Tao fruit to the supreme Tao fruit level, their future and achievements are limitless and immeasurable. Then, "Master, what Tao fruit do I belong to now?" the youth asked. This youth was very handsome and had a tall and straight figure, like a white crane. People like him were the most dazzling no matter where they went. This person was the great holy son of the neighboring academy, a titled God Holy Son. The old man beside him was the dean of the neighboring academy. "Your Tao fruit is infinitely close to the supreme Tao fruit level, but it's still an origin Tao fruit," the dean said with a smile. "An origin Tao fruit is enough. Do I have a chance of becoming a supreme Tao fruit?" the youth asked. "Impossible." The dean shook his head. "Tao fruit is destined from the moment you start cultivating," the dean said. The reason why cultivators want to practice a higher level merit law is so that their own Tao fruit can be better. If you want a supreme Tao fruit, then you'll have to cultivate again. Start from the beginning. For many people, especially for cultivators of higher realms, it was simply impossible to abandon everything and cultivate from the lowest realm all over again. No one was willing to give up everything. Moreover, a supreme Tao fruit that could form unlimited seals was already rare in the world. "Is there no way?" the youth asked. "There is one way," the old man said softly. "If someone with a supreme Tao fruit is willing to help you, you might be able to cleanse your marrow and reforge your Tao fruit. At this point, the dean couldn't help but chuckle wryly. No one with a supreme Tao fruit would be willing to do that. After all, it would be too harmful to them. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.